Have to cap this.
Go. We do both. Haven't had it last Sonic Drag Race.
Yeah, we can.
No slots. No slots.
Oh, you slut!
Why would that have a
That's
slot?
live.
Oh. The helmet can have a decoration. Cool. I don't know if I have anything.
Hiding.
Gosh.
Hard bird today, huh? 100 boxes. Boxes, no problem. 4 drops. Hate us.
You say you've already done 100 boxes, Shrubs?
No, I said Cat is going to hit 100 boxes. Everyone hates.
Eric
Not with
hasn't.
that attitude.
I really need to get my Cap better armor, but I just don't know what's good to replace the base leather.
Honestly,
like 4 button places to return.
It's weird. The bone seems to give the best benefits for the compare.
I find that the cat's armor. I find that the cat's armor doesn't matter too much because they're just going to get like knocked down really quick. Their weapon's more important.
Yeah, I just made it the Rathless blade because I think that's the best weapon I can actually make it for it right now.
So. Hi guys, had fun farming.
Hello there. How's it going, guys? I just got the tweet out. Do me a favor, go give it some love. You guys can see today's starting screen. It is a new one. I do not have sauce for you yet. It was actually completed like a week ago, but I haven't had the time to deal with it. But for those of you with a keener eye, you may actually be able to tell who it's by. Oh. Let's not let that YouTube video load. Oh boy, Twitch wants my input on something again. That's that's not gonna go well. I can just already tell. Okay, she looks younger? I think that's just the artist style. Alrighty. Oh, did I take a bad one? I think I did, but actually it may not matter now. Give me 1 second here, chat. I am trying to make sure my farming stays on track. At least as much as I can. Okay. Let me grab the sauce for today for you guys. We should be good to go. A French pastry? I see. What's up, Weiss? Hello, Alexandra. How's it going? Okay. Hello, everyone. How's it going? Here's today's art piece. Hope you guys go give the artist some love. Twitch loves when you are honest with your criticisms. Oh, I know they don't. I know they don't, chat. They probably mauled at how much like people like me point out the obvious to them. I suddenly want to know how to swim. Understandable. Where's that loading screen art? Like I said, I do not have a sauce for you because I haven't posted it. I am the sauce. I'm the sauce because, as far as I know, the artist won't post it. I did ask them to, but I never received any response on that, so I'm just gonna assume that they won't. And that's usually all I do is I'll ask the artist to post it. And the reason I ask artists to post it is because, one, it makes it easier on me. It puts it in her art tag. It makes it easier for me to see and like keep track of, because I have a hard time after a long period of time of keeping track of this stuff. But two, I also like to let them do it because then they have the tweet and any impressions from that tweet go back to them. I think that's one of the like things that I think a lot of artists don't realize is like they don't want to post commission art and stuff like that to their Twitter and stuff because I don't know, it's like they think it's going to hurt their actual impressions or something, and they don't realize that the Twitter algorithm actually can tell the difference as long as they let it. So if they say something like commissioned art in the tweet itself, and then they tweet it out, but they don't normally say that in their normal tweets, then any sort of difference in impressions that they would get, like likes or retweets or just views in general, will get attributed to commission posts and that so on and whatnot. But like I said, I think that's just people don't really understand the way the algorithm works, and it's something that I think has probably gone unappreciated over time. Okay, there we go. How do you feel about story and event overlap? Yeah, that's what I was going to talk about. I know Trubs was saying it. We kind of have like overlap here on an A right now due to like some of the campaigns and stuff, but I don't like it. I don't like it from the same standpoint that like I don't really like anything that overlaps, and I've said this numerous times before on an A. So it's just one of those deals where like to me, I would prefer if what did I just do? Well, chat, you almost got me in a scuff right here in the beginning because somehow I touched Ishtar. And I say almost because hopefully I'm going to be able to get out of it. We're going to try here. Yeah, it looks like I'll be able to get out of it. Okay, there we go. Is this the first time JP has an event overlap in a story release, not counting a random campaign? An event overlap with a story release. I don't think it is, but usually it's not that much. Like if there's overlap, it's usually been by like a day or two, not really anything other than that. Scuff. Yeah, for those of you guys that did see on Twitch, I'll be doing If I Scuff I Gift, which is where I just gift a sub to Twitch chat. That's if I mess up and don't manage to 3-turn somehow. And chat, y'all are in for probably some good gifted subs tonight because this comp is really fast. It's really easy, but there's a lot of targeted skills, and if I'm not paying attention, it'll just absolutely go south in a hurry. If you guys can manage to distract me, that will be to your advantage. Avalon said it's the first time. I don't think it is. I think it has happened before, but I don't think it's like I said. I think it's been like a day or two. I don't think it's been like this. But yeah, it's like to me, I think it's just kind of weird. They seem to be going breakneck speed all of a sudden. It is something that I've asked them to do. Like I want them to have a more consistent schedule. Also, thank you, Nathan, for having MLB already. But yeah, like I think it's like we just want the schedule to be full of stuff to do. I think the issue at play here, though, and I have to call them out on this, is if your entire premise for having 3-week events is to give people more time to complete them, you're failing. You're just outright failing at that premise, right? Like, because you're not. If you're overlapping the entire 3rd week, but your event is not designed to be completed in 2 weeks, then I don't know what you want, right? It just tells me that even the devs aren't really like following their own design guidelines, or at least what they've said to the public. Billy Boy, thank you for the 30. Thank you for the 2.5 years. Belmonte, thank you for the 8 months. Appreciate it. And thank you to the follows I had while offline. Fighting a migraine? No problem. Yeah, chat. Tomorrow I'll be taking stream off. I know I've taken a lot of days off this week. I have to apologize again for taking yesterday off. If it seems like I'm energetic right now, please understand. I've had like 2 cups of coffee and I'm currently sitting here with like some Dr. Pepper. So it's caffeine. It's the only thing keeping me going at this point. And the second that caffeine begins to wear off, I'm going to crash hard. But yeah, no, like I've just been really tired. Work's been kicking my ass. We did have our deadline today. We got through it. We have one more deadline left in April, and then we're quote unquote out of tax season. But so basically, this is now the 1 month mark. I have 1 month left of this shit. Or as I would like to think of it, 2 more rotations because it's 2 more work weekends. Dr. Pepper's the barbecue sauce with sodas. Yes. Also, I did see your message, okayest, but I have not had the chance to read it. Like I said, even though I've been doing stuff, I have been somewhat busy and trying to get done everything that I could. What am I working on? I'm a CPA by trade, a certified public accountant. So it's just I'm basically in the middle of tax season. So we're doing a bunch of returns right now. I got a ton of extra hours, and it's definitely our worst time of year. Wish they'd actually release. There we go. My finger was not pressing. A more static schedule for events. I mean, I don't want it to be like cookie cutter necessarily, but yes, I've mentioned this many times before that especially for an A, I'm sick and tired of like making plans and then having the devs try to like fuck with our clairvoyance and like jump all over something and like switch stuff up. That's happened to me numerous times lately, and I'm not pleased with them over it. Like, I don't mind having content. I love this game having stuff to do, but like I'm sick and tired of the developers dropping the ball with one hand and then on the other hand trying to like screw with us. And I'm like, can y'all just like stop trying to combat your community and actually just like again lean into things and like encourage the community. So but how's it going, Hal? Have you tried that dirty Dr. Pepper thing? No, I can't say I've heard of it. The dirty doctor? But yeah, I would love it at least if they would give us an actual roadmap, if they would like tell us like, hey, I mean, I'm not even sure that I need the exact dates, just so much as like we're looking at like early spring, late fall, blah, blah, or sorry, not early spring or late fall, but like early March, late April or something like that. Like, as long as they give us that sort of thing, I'm good. And it's why I have to say that at the end of the day, yes, I still feel like the Korean localization staff is doing a better job than ours. I know that's not something the localization staff wants to hear, but I just truly feel like they are doing a better job. Like, that they basically actually go to great lengths for their community, and I think that they do that because they messed up originally. So like early on, like from a holistic standpoint, Korea's localization crew is way worse than NA's. But in terms of like what have you done for me lately type of mentality, yeah, I think the Korean devs are doing a better job. Monthly Q&As where they ask and answer questions. Yeah, and I think like it's really funny because I didn't know that, Avalon, but like, God, that is something that I've been saying that the NA crew needs to do, right? Like, I'm really surprised that like they don't. And it's funny too because it seems like they've given at least the localization departments a lot more like control over like how they market and handle the game. And so I'm really surprised that they don't try to talk to the NA community and like come up with something. Korean became a lost belt, they can't risk getting pruned. Yeah, exactly. And so it's like, because Korea messed up early, they've had to be like super good in the interim. But I think it's working for them in that regard. Whereas like the NA community, I'm not sure they have much goodwill left with people. Like, I don't think people are going to be like trying to give them shit left and right so much as just like, I think people are kind of done with their crap. And while I'm sure like there's still a ton of people that are just like hyped for the game and excited and everything like that, I think maybe the localization staff misconstrues that as being like a lot of like approval of their current tactics, and I don't think it is. A lot of will follow JP's schedule here, as it might cause issues with the code. Yeah, and I think that's perfectly fine. But like, it's always better to hear these things straight from the horse's mouth. Earn, they give it the 32. Jeezy, they give it the 14. How are you guys doing? And again, like I said, guys, I'm sorry for taking more time off this week. It's just been a rough week for me, and hopefully things will be better from now on. I like this second deadline here. It's the second major deadline. It's usually pretty rough on us, but also at the same time, it's a lot more like smaller returns because it's individuals. So usually it's not as rough on me. In regards to how much control Korea has, they aren't run by Aniplex, so they control everything with less tape. Yeah, I agree with that. But then, like, I'm sorry, it's like, how much of that is the localization crew's fault and how much of that is Aniplex's fault? I don't care. I don't actually care what the answer to that is, right? Like, the fact remains, it's like, well, they've got to do better. And if the localization crew feels like they're being, like, hogtied a little bit too much by Aniplex, then they need to, like, say something to Aniplex. I think that's the truth of the matter. Well, you're not dead yet, so you must be doing something right. Yeah, yet. You just got an option for during battle that gives them the ability to disable subtitles, something I assume NA will get soon as well. Yeah, I'm not gonna be surprised to see NA copy something like that. But I mean, again, the pessimist in me would say that like we won't get it. Like NA will just end up like not getting the nice features that some of the other servers do. But I hope we do, right? Like I really want to see some actual tangible improvement in this game, something that I can champion, something that I can be like, hey guys, look at this, the devs have done a good thing. See, they do care, they are trying. And that's I think like the issue that they're having with a lot of people at this current point. It's very tough to defend FGO at the moment. Very tough. Because FGO is at best like subsisting and doing what it normally does. And unfortunately, what it normally does has gotten way worse over time. Been okay with the Karen comp. Yeah, you guys can see I'm not using my own support. I am just kind of going in. I also, what you guys don't see is I'm picking specifically certain people because until we start getting MLBs, so like Nathan has MLB, so this makes me not care. And I will pick him every single time I see him. Anyone with an MLB, I'll take anytime I see him. But otherwise, if you don't have an MLB, I will only take your Koyan Sky if you have a maxed out mana loading skill. Yeah, that's right, chat. I will only take you if you have a maxed out mana loading skill. Why? I'm using Koyan Sky as mana loading. So, again, this is definitely something that, like, y'all need to, like, actually work on your appends at times. And I've said this before, that the supports are one of the, like, chief ones that you actually do want to do it for. I'm just using Morgan because I'm lame. So am I. Like, when I first went into the node, I did it with Double Koyan, Oberon, and Morgan Le Fay. I didn't even swap for Oberon, though, because I just carded the first enemy. But, like, yeah, like, this node is not impossible to do, and actually, I think this is going to be, like, one of the worst nodes for me, comp-wise. Because while I can pull off something like this, I should have just much more fluid and easy solutions. Like, I think, literally, like, Surfmo works for the next 2, I think. I just had to find the time to get the farming done. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm not saying everything, right? Just like a couple of like mana loading on key units is usually the make or break. Because it's rare that I'm going to take anything other than a force support. So for instance, I know I can just go ahead and take Zuko. Because I know he has maxed out mana loading. How do I know that? I've checked that many times. So I know most of the people that have it. And most that don't. And every once in a blue moon I have to refresh, but usually not been much of a thing. But I'm probably going to adjust my comp at this point. Yep. I'm settled in for the long haul. This first round gives spirit roots, and I really want spirit roots. They're just annoying to farm, and you never really get very far ahead on them. So this is one of the best like bang for your buck spirit root farms that you're gonna get. It's just you have to grind anyways. Odds are you want to grind the 90 plus on the first round to get the shop done. So this is killing like two birds with one stone here. Spriggan suck and I just got a seed drop. Nice. You have any good tips for the Tota challenge quest? The Tota challenge quest. I'm trying to remember that one specifically. I think Enkidu is who I used against him. I think it's just like an easy one to really solo. Summer you, yeah. Like any of those should work. I think if I remember correctly, you kind of just want to like I think it's doesn't he get something if he like kills people or something? I don't remember. It's been forever since I've done them. I'm not gonna tackle the challenge quest till probably next week because I actually want to like relax, veg out, farm, and get ahead on my farming, make sure I'm good on that, and then we'll start looking at the challenges. How to get on your friends list? So my friends list is, especially on NA, it is a wait list of see, Ern's got it and I know it. It's a wait list for subs. So it's sub only on NA, and then even when you sub, you have to wait until a slot opens up, which I hate to say for some people has definitely taken years. So hopefully that will begin to accelerate more, but again, like I never am quite sure. I actually know I have a spot right now, but I haven't been able to pull the list to check. So I have to apologize for that. Lord my coin, second a pin, so you got one more coin. Thank you, Avalon. Appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, you guys don't have to lore on behalf of me. That was more just a PSA for like anyone out there. That like it actually does enable certain strategies like this. I can wait years. How to wait as long as you're subbed, you're on it. Because what I do is whenever I go to like deal with my friends list, I pull my subscriber list and I look and see who's still subscribed. If you're not still subscribed, you get Das Boot. If you're someone that has been subscribed and you've been subscribed long enough, I just go down the list because I sort it by veterancy. And I just start asking the people that aren't on the list. Want to get into Cad's friends list, play JP? No, JP has nothing to do with it, actually. In fact, my JP friends list is always open and available. JP, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be subbed. It's literally like I'll just remove you if you're not playing. That's it. Because like I'll go in there and I'll be like, oh, this person hasn't logged in like over 30 days. Kick, right? But yeah, that is the easiest way. And the reason I started doing that, chat, is just to be fair to everybody. I felt like that was the most fair way to do it, since we have more subs than we have spots on our friends list. Stay in, they give her the 5 gift sub bomb. Hot damn. Coat, Baranthal, Lolly Bathwater, Boom Player, BG, and Tagara Live. Make sure you guys thank Sayin if you guys get the chance. I appreciate it, man. You did not have to. But I hope everybody's farming is going good. Like I said, I was worried that I was gonna Maestro. I was worried that I was gonna have like not enough. I was informed of this earlier today. I was informed of this earlier today. Anyways, But yeah, no, like it's just a thing. Would you attempt this set of exhibition quests? What do you mean by would I attempt it? So like what I'm gonna be doing for the CQ's chat, I will end up doing all the coil quests eventually. And then I will also end up doing the end exhibition quests for each one to get the lores from it. But otherwise I'm not doing the other ones in between. You did say it before you don't want to because it's ass. Yeah, it's like, I'm sorry, guys. Like, it's 31 different challenge quests. I actually did them all on JP. Every single one. My JP account is worse. I don't care to do them again. Especially not in the middle of tax season. I'd rather have more free time. I'd rather get done with my farming and be done. We're on the road to LB7. We're good with waiting. Yeah, that is definitely not wrong, right? Like, I want people to understand that I'm aware of like how long some people wait to get on my friends list, and I have to apologize for it. There's like not much I can do, not with the rules I have set up, and it would become overly cumbersome on me to sit there and like come up with some sort of weird ass rotation. So I don't bother to do anything like that. I just say if you're subbed for long enough, you get the spot, and if you have the spot, you only lose it if you unsub. Or like I have removed somebody that has been like subbed, but I've never seen them like come back to stream ever since. So I've done that in a couple rare cases, but it's usually very rare that I do something like that. But I have done it at least once before. I also, back when I first started streaming, I actually used to have some randoms on my list even at that time. And I actually went on for quite a while with at least one of them still on my list, because the person that I had still on the list was the very first whale that ever accepted me on FGO, but eventually I removed them too. And it's funny too, because I actually believe I saw the other day that they had attempted to refriend me. They announced the Trung event. Yeah, I mean, like, not directly. Like we got the campaign for it, the social media campaign, but like, I don't know, right? Like, gotta accept him back? No. It wouldn't be fair to the people that have been waiting. And to be fair, like, chat, like the argument being made right here is, woe is me, won't somebody think of the poor whales? Trust me, I'm sure he's got a very robust friends list. I don't have to worry about that. I'm sure he'll be fine. I'm disappointed in that you always appreciate your first whale. Wait, what do you mean? I didn't. Poor whales, that's the thing, yeah. Early game whale friends stop playing. Oh, I definitely haven't had that. But that's because, like, most of the people that I got, seemingly over time, have been very, very consistent players. Because, chat, here's the thing. I think a lot of people get whales on their account, and they let them hang around even if they're, like, quote-unquote bad players. And what do I mean by that? I mean, like, they're not consistent. They don't consistently log in. They go long periods of time without playing the game. But they're a whale, and so people keep them on their friends list. Here's the issue with that. You can do that, but if you do that, you're not going to actually see the person appear when you need them to most of the time. And the second you get into an event, because they're not playing, they don't have the event Cs up to help you anyways. Also, nice Hardest. I see that MLB. So like, it's actually just better to remove a whale from your list that is not playing the game. And so like, that's why I've never had this issue, is because early on I just prune the people that don't play. Like people that are inconsistent. Have I watched ReZero? Curious who you like most in it. I have watched ReZero. I've watched all the current seasons. who do I like most in it? It's a difficult question. I mean, like out of the female love interests right now, I still go with the main one, whose name I think. Why do I keep wanting to say Emiya? It's not Emiya. Who's Rem? Yeah, exactly. I've totally forgotten about Amelia. Thank you. Yeah, it's just Amelia. I see a lot of like hate and slander towards Amelia, even though she really hasn't like done anything wrong. And I think a lot of it's just because Subaru seems to like stay loyal to Amelia. And everyone goes like, but Rem! And I'm like, don't get me wrong, if you like Rem, that's fine. But I completely think it's unfair to like shit on Amelia for like Subaru deciding to choose a different woman. And at the end of the day, I think this is also something that I think a lot of people don't get, is that like who you love is who you love. You can't just change that just because somebody else is nice to you. Which I think is a novel concept, at least in like literature nowadays. So I like Ram the most. Subaru is doing nothing wrong. I mean, I could say Subaru's doing something wrong. He's just repeatedly like charging to his own death, but that's beside itself, right? Love is a two-way street. If Subaru doesn't love Rim, he shouldn't be with Rim. Yeah, I agree. Like, it sucks, right? But that's also probably the healthier thing to do, rather than to sit there and kind of keep stringing her along. But yeah, I understand why people want it to be Rim. The other kind of character assassinates Rim to try and push Amelia. Yeah, and I think it's like, it's probably the author who set up Amelia to be the main love interest, and then like he wrote a really good arc for Rim, and then like everybody that like well, I say everybody, but not everybody, right? But like a good chunk of the community that watches it like basically fell in love with the character, and now he like probably regrets that. So Beatrice superior. Can't learn the enemy's moves without dying to them? Well, you could. You could just sit there and you could watch. Or you know, you could charge blindly to your death, but yeah. How's it going? We discussing the Nikke collab? No, but I'm sure that's why someone brought it up. And yes, I'm aware there's a collab, and no, I don't give a shit. And I'm gonna say this. To my knowledge, chat, wasn't there a ReZero gacha game? And didn't it already fail? So I assume the reason that collab is happening is because of that. Was there? Yeah. They finally partner with lotion and tissues. No clue if that still exists. I think it closed down. I think, but maybe it's still around. Don't most anime gacha games fail? Yeah, but I think in general most gacha games fail, and the reason most gacha games fail is because most of them are just cash grabs. I think that's one of the things that you can look at something like FGO and say, well, like, okay, but it has really good story and it does it right. You know, it certainly has the benefit of it was around as like one of the earlier gacha games, and that helped it out. But yeah, I don't know. It's like you look at all the pretty successful ones over time, and there's usually a couple of commonalities amongst them that the shitty cash grab ones don't have. And again, Fearless, thank you for the Prime. Welcome to the channel. Enjoy your new emotes. Also, hello, Gwalion. Emiya is best girl after all? You right. I actually saw a really good Emiya art earlier today. I watched episode 1 of ReZero and never watched it again. I'm someone that lives by the 3-episode rule most of the time. It's only if I completely find like the first episode to be like either like vulgar and like something that I just don't see myself watching, like basically that it disgusts me in some way, or that the show was like a rug pull in a sense, that how it was presented and trailered to you that made you want to watch it is absolutely not what it was. And then the thing that you discover that it is not of interest to you. I have had that happen in a couple of cases. So Goblin Hunter, yeah, I mean, some people get really upset about the first episode of Goblin Slayer. Right into an ad for Helldivers. They know. Ordeal calls week 3 of CBC. Yeah, I don't like that. I'm sorry. I'm just going to be upfront and say that I do not like that. There's technically no pressure, but where I think there's going to be pressure is then when, like, after CBC wraps up, I go to do Ordeal Call 2 and I get, like, less than a week to do it before they slap on another event. Full Metal Alchemist Mobile sadly failed with no Ian version. Yeah, and I think that's a lot of the time that happens. Also, I don't know what I did there. Oh, I see what I did. I didn't pop it, but that nearly failed. Y'all almost got me there. Y'all almost got your first scuff of the stream. If Morgan didn't card that down, I was in trouble. But yeah, like I don't know, right? Like I think Emiya, or sorry, not Emiya. I think Amelia is a good character, but I also think that at least at the current point of the anime, Amelia hasn't had a whole lot of characterization yet. And so I feel like attitudes towards Amelia will probably shift in the future, but I don't know, right? Like, because I haven't read the manga, so I have no idea where it's headed. I just assume that at some point it's gonna have to like give more characterization for her, talk a little bit more about her backstory. But yeah, like trying to think, like, if there was an example of an anime that I've like recently just like watched an episode of and then dropped. The majority of the time, though, I usually watch at least the 3 episodes, and then I kind of let the writing dictate my continued like devotion to the anime. So, like, one of the animes I'm watching right now that probably not a lot of people are watching is my instant death ability is overpowered. It's your typical isekai trash anime. It has an overpowered protagonist who is functionally invincible, but the show actually handles it really well. The show just straight up, you know, the protagonist is going to win, and instead it's more like, how badly and how differently are the enemies going to like trip over themselves trying to get rid of him, and then they instead eliminate themselves. He is too imba, yeah. I heard that mech suits are coming to Helldivers. Yeah, they're already there. I actually I got to pilot one at one point on Wednesday. Oh, I almost did it. I'm liking Freerun. I've set Freerun down for now, and because like I had way too much shit to watch, and I'm just kind of waiting for it to finish, and then I'll probably pick it up again. Did I watch Bravern? No, but I have heard good things. Max, you mean Vehicles of Democracy? Yes. 2 copies on the same 11 pool? Nice, Heartless. But Dungeon Meshi? I am currently watching Dungeon Meshi. I liked the first 4 or 5 episodes. I have to admit that it's gotten pretty meh down the stretch. The final episode should be next week, I think, and the current episode that just came out this week, boy, did that ramp it up to 11. It was at least like a very action-packed episode, and I am really surprised at how like dark it got right at the end of the episode. I'm not gonna spoil, but like, holy shit, I just did not expect them to like show certain things. Isn't Dungeon 24? Oh, is it 24? If it is, that's good, because that means it'll actually get out of the initial dungeon, I assume. Because that's part of the problem is they dragged it out like in that initial arc here, trying to like rescue the sister. So like, I'm actually curious to see what happens beyond that point. How goes farming? It's going pretty good. Pretty much like most D&D campaigns, huh? What are you trying to say about our D&D campaign? Yeah, I mean, like, it happens, right? And I think that's where, like, a good story, or rather a good storyteller will realize things are getting stale and, like, adjust. Lots on Slow Life Season 2. It focuses way too much on the side characters early on, but I'm enjoying it so far. And unfortunately, though, I was really just hoping to see the new hero get his ass kicked. So I hope that's what happens in the end. But at least as of the current like status of things, it's not how it's been. The fuck needs action. If it's good, it's good. Yeah, I mean, like, I agree with that, but I'm gonna say it didn't have action. It didn't even really have drama. It just was very slow. It got too slice of lifey for me in the like middle episodes. I still pushed through it. I still watched it because I do overall enjoy the concept of the show. But yeah, like I'm glad to see it at least return to form as of this week's episode. Like the manga more than the anime. I didn't think the format worked very well as an animation. I think it's fine. It's just there's a couple arcs there where, sorry, not arcs, but like a couple episodes there where they're just like, you know where they're headed, they're just taking forever to get there type deal. And like that's really my only issue with it. New hero is an ass? Yes, he is. Him getting punched was great? Right, and I want to see more of that. I do hope that they don't make the mistake, though, of quote-unquote forced drama. That was one of the things I actually praised them for early in the first season of Slow Life, is that you have an actual romance arc between two of the protagonists where their relationship is budding, it grows, it develops, and it's a healthy, coherent relationship. And I said it's like one of the only ones I've ever seen in all of anime, where, especially in recent times, right? Like some of the older animes, I used to see it all the time. But like in recent times, like, God, yeah, you just don't get a functional, healthy relationship anymore between two people. There's all this like sort of forced plot convenience for drama. Forced drama, as I like to call it, where like, oh, I am angry at you. Why are you angry at me? Because you didn't tell me about this. Why didn't you tell me about this? And it like the reason they didn't tell them about this is like some stupid like forced reason where like every reasonable sane person would have been like, hey, I should totally tell my significant other about this. And like it'll be something like, they feared the reaction or something like that, and it's like, no, dude, that's stupid. Just tell them. You know it's not going to get you in trouble. You will only get in trouble if you don't tell them the thing that you needed to tell them. Like, so yeah, it's like it's just a stupid thing where it's like arguments do happen in real life over similarly stupid things, but most relationships fall apart due to actual disagreements and differences of opinion, not due to like, hey, you didn't tell me that. Because usually at that point, it's like, oh shit, I need to tell the person that from now on. That's just how it is. My issue with the dungeon meshy is, well, at the beginning, if you had this sense of urgency. So they actually, it's funny because I talked with Creamy about this because he also had a similar issue with the show. I don't think Creamy continued to watch it after the first episode, but they addressed the sense of urgency to an extent. Like, it is explained that basically they have at least a month to get to the bottom of the dungeon and defeat the dragon. But yeah, it's like, oh, shouldn't you be trying to get down there? I think the issue at play there is that they, one, don't really know the way, which I think is the worst plot point. I think that's actually the worst plot point because they were already down there, like, to get eaten in the first place. But besides that, like, finding their way back down seems to take time. They have to go slow. They don't necessarily have the supplies or provisions to just blitz down there. And so I get why it takes them a while, and then they also need to like do dragon prep, right? Imagine talking to your partner, can't they read your mind? Yeah, I mean that's definitely a thing. Like I said, there's definitely people that get in arguments over miscommunication and like, oh, I didn't tell you because I didn't think you would care. Which I have yet to see an anime pull that specific line, because that is definitely the line that I've heard from people over and over again, where it's like you didn't tell someone something because you didn't think it would matter to them, and then they get all upset at you over it. Instead, in anime, it's like, oh, I don't know, like my significant other's like best friend is like in town. I'm not gonna tell them because like it might distract them from their journey that we're currently on. And it's like, why the fuck wouldn't you tell them? Like you had all the time in the world to tell them. Like it's just something stupid like that. Wasn't it so that they got attacked on a different layer? I believe so. I like they didn't know exactly how to get to the very bottom of the dungeon, but I think they still like they should have known at least to an extent how to get back down there. But I'm also trying to think here too, because there was another plot point I had on that as to like why it made sense. I don't know. I will say I do find the rules of the world to be a little bit weird, where it's like as long as you have a piece of the body, you can resurrect someone. Because then to me, there must be the classic D&D rule of, well, then you can't resurrect anyone who actually dies of old age. Because otherwise, you could just go to someone's grave, pick up a bone, and be like, resurrection! And they'd come back to life. So I assume it's something like that, where there's an alternate rule that you're not necessarily told. But yeah, like they do kind of address it both in the beginning, in the interim, and even in the end of the show. I'm okay with it, but if it's something that bothers you, I'm just gonna go ahead and say, yeah, like at that point, don't watch it, because it will be a thing at least for that first arc. Talked about the magic of the dungeon. Yeah, they definitely went a lot into the quote unquote like world building of the dungeon. Like you find out as you go along through the show that there's a lot more than it just being like a dungeon that heroes grind in. The dungeon has an actual ecosystem, and there's a reason that it does. Talking about dungeon meshy? Yeah. As long as you can heal the body, someone can be resurrected. Yeah. Has to be inside the dungeon because the dungeon traps the souls. If that's their excuse, which I don't remember that being said, but if that's their excuse, that's really just fucking stupid at that point. That just made me feel like Fallout 4 where you were leaving to go find your kid. No. Okay. Chat, let me explain to you the problem with Fallout 4, okay? In Fallout 4, you, in the opening intro section, like, create your character. And for me, at least, what I noticed is the wife and child that you have, like, it looks to me like your wife cheated on you, because the child does not look like yours. So I basically sat there and said, well, if my wife cheated on me, that's not my son, and I don't need to go rescue him. So that's how I logic Fallout 4. Sean is not my baby. And the reason I say this is because, like, I think the baby sprite doesn't really change in Fallout 4. And even if it were to change some, it's like, however much it does change, it's not enough to actually look directly like you, or even remotely close. Like I'm talking, chat, like the skin color of the child is completely different from either parent. And you're like, hold on. Hold on, I think wifey been sleeping around. Maybe the tech wasn't possible, but the Sims existed? Oh, the tech was certainly possible. It was just a case for them of like, they probably just got lazy with it. She cheats, she belongs in the streets. Wow. Yeah, like, I don't know. Fallout 4, that's how I justified it, but I do agree. I think, like, don't set up a, like, sense of urgency without, like, at least putting barriers to the urgency. And I think that's the problem with Dungeon Meshi, is they don't make the barriers apparent at the beginning. They don't do a good job of explaining why they can't just go right back to the dragon and kick its ass, right? They do give you some explanation, but it's just not enough, really. Seeing what names the robot butler would say and not say, yeah. You can't pull that excuse if you play the female character. Yes, I can. I'll just say it's still not my baby. One day my husband brought home this like adopted child, and I didn't agree to it. That must have been what the Vault Tech man at the door was there about. There you go, chat. I can explain my way out of anything. Failed the Tota CQ one turn away from winning because he got 3 crits in a row. Gonna go punch a wall now? Yeah, and I'm gonna say, like, that's the issue I have with all these challenge quests. Is like, it's just so much of a colossal waste of your time, especially if you fail. Like, and I don't like that. I think a lotto is not the event to pull that stuff in. And I actually wish that instead they would give us a challenge event on its own that is like separate from all of this stuff. Speaking of Win a Stellar Blade demo, didn't they take the demo down? Which I didn't hear why, chat. Was the demo taken down because the girl had such a like skin tight suit? Same, a challenge only event would be awesome. Yeah, and I've said this before. It's like, I'm not against challenge content. I just want them to keep it separate from like farming. Same issue with advanced quests have. People wouldn't bother with either. Well, I think the advanced quests are a problem for 2 reasons. One, they're overwhelmingly gimmicky. To the point that the devs actually had to come out and say that in an interview after a certain advanced quest was the thing, that they were going to like not have advanced quests that were so RNG that you could go in there, have the perfect strategy and still fail. Because there is an actual advanced quest that, like, if the RNG is bad, you just lose and there's nothing you can do about it. Like, it is unwinnable. And that's kind of the problem that they had, is I think people got upset at them over that. So again, the gimmicks I think are a problem. The other problem with advanced quests is the reward. The fact that you get 1 copy of the CE and you need like 5 different advanced quests before you can finally MLB it makes a lot of people sit there and refuse to do advanced quests until they can get MLB of the CE. And I don't blame them for that. It was never officially released. It was accidental. Oh, okay. Yeah, see, I thought it was officially released and that they took it down because it was too lewd. Got Odysseus on a single ticket? Nice. Odysseus is actually pretty good. I honestly, chat, I thought about making a video for Odysseus and I decided against it. My logic is that Stellar Blades MC or 2B? My logic is that, like, basically, I don't really think too many people are going to roll for Odysseus because of the readily available welfare replacements for it. Like, Odysseus stands out because he removes defensive buffs before damage, but that is literally the only way he stands out. So to me, I'm like, yeah, I don't really think a lot of people will do it. I'll wait until they buff him or something like that in the future, and then I'll actually give him a proper video. Was put up a bit earlier than they expected by complete accident. That's just wild. I don't even follow FGO, but what the fuck was that thumbnail? Which thumbnail? The bunny girl? I'm not gonna subject myself to the stress. Yeah, and I've told you guys this before. Like, to me, y'all need to start viewing this event's challenge quests as optional. They are there if you wish to spend the time and have the challenge. They are not something you need to stress too much about. It's not worth your sanity. If you're someone that gets deeply upset and like frustrated by challenge stuff in the game, my advice is just like let it be. It sucks to miss out on the materials. I think the materials, at least for like the crystallized lores specifically, are worth it. But I don't think you need to like kill yourself over it. I think it's just one of those deals where it's like, you know, again, if you enjoy it, go for it. If you don't bother. But CAD tickets, yeah, no, I don't care. Like, I'm not gonna tell someone to do something that they don't want to do, right? Also, did you see Power World is getting its first raid soon? I don't care. I expect that Power World is gonna start emulating Pokemon, and here's why. They're not good enough to do PvP in Power World. The devs are not. Like, that much is apparent. And as somebody that plays a lot of survival games, I can just flat out tell you that that game is going to be an absolute, like, shit show if they ever try to put proper PvP in. Like, they can put duels in, and I think that would work. But if they actually try to do, like, open world PvP, no, not a chance. Not a chance. That is going to be such a shit show if they try it. Not until they, like, completely recode how a lot of their environment interacts with stuff. I don't think I'll try the coils. My box is still weak for a gauntlet like that. Yeah, I'm going to tell you guys flat out, the biggest problem you're going to have with the coils is if you just don't have enough healers. Straight up. Like, you need sustain to get through some of those fights. Because remember, you can't just take the same units in. So these are all a bunch of long, drag-out fights that you need the options. And the problem is, if you're a newer account or you're not as wide of an account, you just don't have the options. So it's like, you could try to solo some of them, and that does help alleviate it, but it also makes it take longer. Cad, when do you plan to make the third part of Banner Review 2023? I have it in my inbox. I just received it today. And yes, 2024. So I'll probably post it like Monday is what I'm thinking. My hardest fight in this event is the urge to resist the Cersei CE. I saw someone with MLB of it earlier. They were a true fan. I'm joking. Can I involve cheese them? No, right? Like, because you can't keep taking the same units is the problem. So, like, each fight you have to take a different set of units until you've cleared that coil. And it's rough. You can invuln cheese all the non-coil quests. Well, I say all of them. You probably can't invuln cheese all of them, because I'm pretty sure there's a death-based one in there. Single target arts loop with a damage C. What do you mean? What why are you asking me that? Oh, almost didn't press that. Almost got me again, chat. Had to use the support caster on one of the fights, waiver for the Salter one. They're not so bad. Yeah, they're not impossible to beat or anything. It's just like some of the fights are designed to be done with like a full party, and you go in there and you're like, shit. Because like you're trying to make do with the bare minimum. Oh, cheesing with that? To a degree, sure. And some of the cases you absolutely can't. Like, some of the cases you actually... Like, the one that I remember, I specifically remember needing to solo the Eris quest. Because I was just really not having enough healers to make it through. And I had to save some of the healers for the later ones. So, I basically soloed it with Barcast. And it worked, but it was hair-raising. Teslafest started? Yup. And again, chat, don't forget the tickets that you guys got from the CBC event. Stellar Blade's a very base game. I am happy to see that people are still making like lewd games, right? Like I'll give something like Nikke a lot of shit because it's like, dude, it's like girls twerking on your screen. I'm like, I'm sorry, that shit's basically it's like, it's not porn, but it's like, it's absolutely not something that you like want your average everyday person to look over your shoulder at your phone and see, right? They're just gonna think you're looking at porn if they see that. But no, I think that like gaming has gone way too far in like trying to like desexualize anything with regards to women and trying to like super sexualize a lot of the men and stuff like that. Is not porn, but also is not porn. Yeah, exactly. All I'm trying to say is like it's definitely the epitome of something that it doesn't look good if people see you playing it. I only get weird looks with certain NPs. Yeah, and I think that's like reasonably avoidable for most people with something like FGO. So many Western games made females look bland. Yeah, I think it's terrible. And I think a lot of it goes back to that stupid ESG stuff. I think a lot of it is like, oh, no, we have to respect all women and everything like that. Which, yeah, I mean, chat, respect women, right? But like also at the same time, it's a video game. It's not a real woman. Like, it's fantasy. I think, and I think the creator of Stellar Blade was 100% on the mark with that, where he said, it's fantasy. People want to stare at hot people. Yes, 100% yes. And so I don't care if they put like super hot 6-pack ab guys in there for all the female players and like gay players and stuff like that. I think that's fine. Just all I'm asking is for equal treatment at that point, right? Like if you're gonna hypersexualize one set, hypersexualize it all. I don't care. Yeah, it's the double standard that's the issue. And I think that's the biggest problem that I have with stuff like this. I bet they would be surprised to know that hentai artists are not 100% men. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I've seen people say like, oh, a lot of hentai artists are women. I'm like, there are definitely some women hentai artists. They're not all women. And like, that's something that people need to understand when they make statements like that. They're trying to make it sound like they are, and they're not. But still, yeah, it's, to me, I'm just sick and tired of like people trying to invade like the fantasy, the escapism of video games and trying to inject like real world like social justice bullshit and like politics into it. I don't care. Like, I don't give a shit. And if you put it into a game, I'm either gonna not play the game or I'm gonna mod it out. Like that's just how it is to me. Because obviously I think everybody deals with this enough in real life. I think everybody has this stuff constantly shoved down their throat 24/7, and you just want to play a game and stare at some like hot women. And I think that's perfectly fine. I think that's one of the reasons that I play so many Japanese games. Naturally, I am a weeb. I like anime and stuff like that, but I'm also just somebody that like, I don't care. I would play a Western game. I would play a Japanese game. Hell, I'd probably play like, I don't know, like a Saudi Arabian game or something like that. It doesn't matter to me where the game is made, but if there's certain things about the game I don't like, I'm not going to play the game. That's just how it always is. And yeah, I think a lot of the times it's that the Japanese have not become like afflicted by this sort of mentality, this like super Western like mentality of like, it's really weird because it's like super puritanical on one end, but then absolutely not on the other. We like shame anything sexual, but then encourage like massive amounts of sexuality. And then you start looking at it, you realize it's like, it's only like anything that a normal straight man would find attractive. That is what's like demonized. And I just don't understand that as a straight man. I believe in my heart that Asanagi is a woman. I don't know, right? If you're gonna base your self-worth on gotcha girls or boys, then who boy please find other standards. Yeah, I completely agree by that, right? Like, and that's why I think it's stupid, and I think it's 100% agenda pushing. They know what they're doing it on purpose, and they're just trying to like basically brainwash the masses and force them to convert. And they don't realize that it's like what's it, the old Star Wars quote that one of the people says to Vader, where it's like the more you tighten your grip, the more systems squeeze through, right? It's the same concept here. It's like the more they try to tighten their grip and ram this shit down people's throat, the more people are going to begin to speak out about it and push back against it. People don't like when you start trying to like mess with them like that. Yeah, Leia Tarkin, thank you. The people that complain weren't going to buy the game in the first place. No, I like, hear me out on this, okay? I 100% get that standpoint, and I do think there's like certain things of like, for instance, the people that complained about like Tifa for the first Final Fantasy remake. Yeah, I think if you're complaining that Tifa was too sexual, you weren't playing the game anyways, and here's why. Because that mentality just absolutely doesn't work with any of the other Final Fantasy series. So straight up, you're probably not a Final Fantasy fan if you're someone that was complaining about that. So in that regard, you're 100% right. But I do think there's certain games where, like, you know, they maybe found the character like attractive, at least initially, or they maybe were intrigued by the concept of the game and they wanted to play the game. And then they found out what got done or what got changed in the game. They got to see it in full, like, full revelation, right? And then at that point they decided, wow, I'm no longer interested in this game and this is super disappointing. And they're complaining because of that. So that I get. Like, one of the examples that I've seen of this was like the Horizon series, where people were excited for the sequel of Horizon, and then they actually like started showing you, and they like, the devs were like touting the graphical fidelity and showing you all the like freckles and pimples on Aloy's face, and people were disgusted by it. People said, fuck that, I'm not buying this game now because of it. And I don't blame them. It's like nobody asked them to go that in depth with it. You could see reports. Yeah, the people were just like, no, I don't care. In fact, this is actually a turnoff now. And so I completely understand at that point, where like the changes that a dev makes can actually change people's mind. And to a degree, that was the same thing with the Tifa issue. When they first revealed Tifa in the initial trailers for the remake, she had I'd say like more normal breast size. In fact, there were some people that were saying, oh, they should make it bigger. And then they actually nerfed it after that initial thing. And then you had the gaslighting of all the Western media that told people that like, oh no, they needed to do this for reasons. And they weren't that big anyways, and they didn't reduce them. And then years later, we found out that, oh no, they straight up did, and they admitted to it. But in that time period, because they reduced the size, yeah, sure, they appeased the people that were originally complaining, and they lost a shit ton of the people that were like, I'm not buying this game now, because you've actually catered to the people that just hate the game anyways. Did you see the botched Battlefront launch? I did. I have seen that Aspyr apparently apologized and pledged to fix it. I'm just gonna say, like, I had people trying to tell me to like pick it up since it was still on sale until the release, and I was like, no, I'm good. I don't have time to play it right now anyways. And man, am I glad I didn't. I heard one certain Western consultant would threaten gaming companies of being canceled if they don't approve their point of view. Yeah, fuck that. I don't care. Like fuck those people. I hate to say this, and I've said it before, that like any company out there needs to stop listening to Twitter. Straight up. Like that's their big problem, is they all assume Twitter is like the end all be all, and they need to stop listening to it. At least to an extent of like, Twitter will always complain and bitch about everything. So you just need to realize that, and instead, all you need to understand is when you actually have a problem, and that problem is bigger than even Twitter at that point. Because at that point, you're going to have a shit ton of people complaining on Twitter, but you're also going to have a shit ton of people complaining everywhere. And at that point, it'll become super apparent to you. And I don't understand why companies put so much of a weight on that. But yeah, like absolutely, they should not be catering to anything, even consultant-wise, that people are telling them. If their vision is to make a game in a certain way, then that is the only justification and defense that they need, right? In Rebirth, they gave her the old boob size. Yeah, I know, and that's what made that so funny. They actually just admitted that yes, in fact, they did nerf her, even though the media tried to claim that they didn't. Threatens mass public disapproval for a consequence, can fuck right off. Yeah, it's like trying to say that I speak for the people type bullshit, and I'm like, no. And I have said like at least I've tried to like conjecture as to like what, you know, a group of people will think like or do, but I'm not speaking for that crowd. And at the end of the day, most of the time I make it apparent that I am like guesstimating or something like that. Like I'm trying to like take a stab at what I think people would say or do. It's far different than like presuming to speak for an entire group or like trying to like I guess like threaten people with that. The drama on Stellar Blade too. Yeah, it's like I don't care. It's one of those things where you have the Streisand effect, right? Where it's like people will demonize the game because it has a like skin tight, pretty like sexualized woman. And because they demonize the game, it's gonna make more people aware of the game. They're gonna be like, damn, she's hot, they're gonna buy it. Because of that. And it's hilarious to watch as these people don't understand that that's exactly what they're doing. I was online for food and some guy looked at my phone and FGO was playing and he thought it was a casino game. Damn. Were you in the gacha? Of the Gumroad change? Wait, did they make a change to Gumroad, Kuon? What game were we talking about here? Oh, we were just talking philosophically about a bunch of them. Stellar Blade, Final Fantasy VII, you name it. Did you get the MLB CE drop yet? Yes. Yeah, I have gotten... Wait, Chad, have I gotten another drop while on stream? I don't think I have. But I'm like... Yeah, I think I'm 6 drops in. He isn't wrong, it is a casino, yeah. I was just farming. I mean, were you farming with like Koyanskaya because Bunny Girl outfit, right? Do you like how the sign in the back of the stadium has New York as one word? Well, New York is one word, right? And it's a capital word. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I think it's always funny too when you actually like speed up the animations that you can see it go faster in the background and slower. Gumroad is banning NSFW content. Didn't Patreon or one of them try to do that recently? And like, I remember, like, I remember they had to like completely walk back on it. Oh no, it was OnlyFans, wasn't it? Didn't OnlyFans threaten to get rid of like all NSFW content? And it's like, well, then you won't have anything else. Yeah, I think Patreon's always kind of been rough on it, but yeah, it's like Pornhub banning porn. It's like, okay, have fun. It's not gonna work for you. So I don't know. I think like usually from what I've heard for how that sort of thing happens is somebody gets a stick up their butt. they get a stick up their butt and they go and report them to banks, to advertisers, to like anybody that they have a financial tie with, and they try to put pressure on the company to cut ties with them. I think that's really stupid, right? Because I think the company should just choose whether or not to cut ties. And this is why I say, like, companies need to stop listening to Twitter. Just because some people are bitching about a thing on Twitter, who gives a shit? If you ignore them, this is the problem with outrage culture. If you ignore the outrage, it just shifts. It just goes to the next thing. All you have to do is wait it out, and it just immediately shifts. And it doesn't mean that you should be like blind and like plug your ears and stuff to like the plight of your customers and consumers, but it definitely. Okay, that was really weird. Like my screen had both stopped and the game had frozen for a second there. But like, yeah, to me it's like, okay, who cares, right? Like if you're gonna complain, it may or may not be an issue, and once you determine that it is an issue, you need to deal with it. But I think they're way too quick to pull the trigger on these things and ultimately assume that it is an issue. Because that's what keeps happening is like you get the bank and the bank goes like, no, we don't want to fund this. And you need to do this, or we're going to pull your line of credit. We're going to like basically try to like demand you pay more on the loan or something like that. And it's really stupid to me that they try to do stuff like this. And apparently even like credit card vendors and stuff like that can also be part of the problem, where they'll say that they're going to stop working with them. They won't be able to accept that credit card anymore and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, cool. You keep doing that. And the second you bend to their rules, you'll have to always bend. Whereas if you just tell that like credit card company or that bank to go fly a kite and just get a new one, if they actually have the balls to stick to their guns, get a new one. Just say like, okay, you're losing me as a client. Have fun. I am going to this new institution over here. And I guarantee you that next bank will be like, ooh, and they'll just straight up take you just to get the actual business. Pornhub did crack down on non-original content, and now we can't watch interspecies reviewers on there anymore. There's so many things I could say to that comment, and I'll choose to say none. Issue comes when these institutions hold on have the same policies because of legal arm wrenching. Yeah, and that's usually what it is. It's like social pressure applied to one of the other companies to try to get them to break a relationship with the company that they actually don't like, and it's dumb. I think it's actually dumb. Orange, thank you for the 49. Does this make me an old man? No, because you're not at 50 yet. At 50, you can become an old man. But thank you, Orange. I appreciate it. Everyone likes to boycott, sadly. Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of boycotting things that like should be boycotted, and I think where that line is different from every single person. Okay, but I will say like people are too quick to boycott over stupid things, and at the end of the day, the things that are going to make me boycott a company are usually like they actually have it out for me as the consumer, or they specifically are being dismissive of like my beliefs in some way. So I'm not going to say that like I'm trying to think of a good example of this, because this is getting into like politics and stuff like this, but like usually it's like you have to actually be like, so for instance, I'm Catholic and I don't talk about this very often on stream, but like you would have to like have a company be like coming out and being like they're anti-Catholic or something like that, and I'm like, well, okay, fuck you then I'm not going to deal business with you. Like that's the extent that they would have to like pull for me to actually boycott. But yeah, usually it's like I don't care. And I think a lot of like where boycotting comes from is that same outrage culture. And I think a lot of it is that like people in a lot of ways usually tend to like bandwagon and like jump on things. So it's like, let's say that's probably a Scuff chat. that's probably a scuff. So we'll see. But people will like all the time get into situations where they like let's say like the company does something that person A doesn't like. Person B also doesn't like it, but didn't have any dealings with the company anyways. So person A says, I'm boycotting this company. And they actually like boycott them. They actually stop dealing with that company. Person B says, I'm doing my part. I'm boycotting the company. Person B had nothing to do with the company anyways. So it makes the boycott look bigger than it is, but the reality is it's like they weren't even customers in the first place. So I do think that sort of thing happens all the time. But yeah, it's why, like I said, I think these companies, to a degree, take some of the stuff too seriously. In Doritos, although Doritos corrected their mistake very quickly, I actually don't know what the Doritos mistake was, but as we have Gamergate 2 at the moment, I watched Asmon's stuff on it. I think Asmon actually has a really good take for once. To a degree, I agree with some of Asmon's takes, but I also think he misses the mark in a lot of ways for like things that truly matter, because Asmon's very cynical, especially about people. But Asmon has a pretty good take on this one in particular, and his take is that like Sweet Baby, which is the big company that everyone's like all up in arms about, isn't really the issue. Sweet Baby is the effect, not the cause. That like they exist not to like change games, but because the developers asked them to come help them change their game. And so the problem is instead that you have activist developers and you have ESG like investment firms that are pushing for change in gaming, trying to like push these political narratives and these like these social justice narratives into video gaming, where I think most people just don't give a shit and just want to escape from all that. So that's usually the problem. It's Sweet Baby is the consultant that these developers hire. And the problem is actually the developers. And the developers need to just tell these other companies to butt out. And the issue at play is that, like, and I've seen people say this before too, that, like, it's not even entirely on the developers, because here's what happens, right? You have the investment firm that is investing in the developer, funding the project, okay? The problem at play here is the developer has to go out and, like, hire new people. But who they hire and bring back into their job is probably largely dictated by the investment firm, who probably is putting pressure on them as to who they need to hire, because the investment firm is also the one that's trying to tell them how to change their game. So, yeah, I think at this point, this has gone on long enough without people noticing that a lot of the developers at this point are just full of super activist type of people that their passion isn't making video games. It's attempting to change the world of gaming through their stuff. And I think that's wrong. I don't think that should be a thing. I think video gaming and game design should be about making games. First and foremost, fundamentally, it should not be about attempting to change the world. I think that is a very activist viewpoint, and I think that's what's pissing off a lot of gamers. Basically, the issue is AAA big corpo game devs. Yep, 100%. Like, yeah, it's not even necessarily your rank and file dev. It's the people making the decisions at the top. Their passion is public approval and vision of anointed. Yeah, I agree with that. Well, a lot of indies made better games in the West. Yeah, I think in general, indies at least have that freedom of creativity. And I think that's the big, like, the big ultimate, like, deciding factor in a lot of this is when you have controlled creativity, when you tell people, like, someone goes like, ooh, I want to make this character an orc. And they're like, I want to make him like a Tolkien-esque evil orc. And then the like producer comes in and says, no, you can't do that. He needs to be kind. He needs to like break the societal norm. He needs to like not have these stereotypes about him. He needs to be the exact opposite. And I think that's the issue that we keep running into, is that like the creative vision keeps getting subverted by people with ulterior motives. And that's why like so many of the games at this point feel like they're just like bland or hollow or like super pandering. Brainwash 101, attack the younger generation. Yeah, and it doesn't work. The younger generation, I think this is why so many Zoomers are like super ironic and don't take things seriously. Is because they have the millennials sitting there like constantly screaming at them. They have the eldest generation screaming at the millennials. And then they have like a bunch of their media and shit is trying to like push crap on them, and I think they're very much in a like I don't care mentality. And eventually they'll make it to like the actual workforce, and like reality will set in for a lot of them, but I do understand how they are that way. I think the bigger problem with AAA gaming is companies focusing on profit over making quality games on SJW stuff. People labeling the goblins. Yeah, I'm not going to say that word, but 100%. Like that was one of the issues that I had to kick someone off the Discord for. Is they were actually likening the goblins to that, and I was like, you were actually just being like racist. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm going to tell you not to ever do that again. Please don't do that. Please don't say that. And then they tried to like come after me and say like, oh, then that means you must support this. And I'm like, that's not what I'm saying. I am saying stop saying racist shit in the Discord. It's like, if people cannot understand that, I'm like, you're just one of those problem people. I am better off without you. The problem term, or the proper term, is urinalists. I see. Yes. We had everyone tell us we will drive through the end of the world as kids. Wait, what do you mean drive through the end of the world? You mean like basically that like everything's gonna like come to a halt, society will crash and all that shit? Yeah, I think that's stupid. I don't think that should be a thing. Just got over food poisoning? Yeah, no problem, man. Take some time. Who was that? I used to be missing arguments on Discord. Oh, it was last year's, back during Hogwarts Legacy. We had people like before the game came out saying like trying to threaten me over playing it, trying to say that like, oh yeah, like no one should cover this game because it's a like racist game, and then they themselves in their stupidity were making racist arguments, and I'm like. It's a lot of the time it's usually the people that are the first to cry like racism or bigotry or something like that. They're usually the actual racist most of the time. That's what I've realized is they don't understand, and a lot of the time it's because they feel the need to get angry on behalf of someone else. And I'm like, listen, I think it's a wholly different argument when someone of a race, of a like a group is feeling offended about something. I think if they like come to me and talk it out with me, I'm more than willing to hear it. But if you're getting upset on behalf of a group and you're making racial stereotypes to get upset, you're the problem. Period. Yeah, it's projection. It's 100% projection. Like, I'm sorry, you were the problem at that point. Like, and I say this before, I still feel like I was raised right in that sense that like. I was always taught to like, again, not see color, not see, gender or anything like that. And basically to just like treat everybody with respect and everyone equally. And that's always served me well in life. I've never had issues with people over stuff like that because I instead, treat people based off of like how they act. If you act like an asshole, I'm gonna treat you like an asshole. If you act like a kind person, you're gonna get treated like a kind person, right? Like, that's how I've always operated and conducted myself. And it's really weird to like have people instead like tell you that like, no, you have to see like these terrible things. And I'm like, all that does is create more division. All that does is like get rid of any like potential unity and like coexistence that you can have with people. And I don't understand why people push that so much. And I see this all the time too, because I see people that often want to talk about like having like for instance in gaming especially, like, oh, we don't have enough female leads in gaming. And it's like, yes, we do. There are plenty of great female leads. And usually when like a movie, a show, or a video game fails, it's not because of who the protagonist was. It's because of how shittily they were written. Like 10 out of 10 times. That's always the issue. It is not an issue of like who the protagonist is. It's not their identity that matters. Because it's like, yeah, I mean, again, I've played numerous games as a kid where there was a female as the protagonist. Normally, when I play a character in a video game, I am playing a female. And my logic, people would probably say this is sexist, is that I would 10 times as a straight man rather stare at like a woman's ass for like 90% of the time that I'm playing the game than a dude's ass walking around. I think that's just normal. That was not good. That was not good. Okay, we're gonna try to make it through this. I should be able to 3-turn, but oh. Yeah, we should be good. All right, chat, I'm good. Oh, man. I've requested BGC in the past, never gets old. Yeah. Sport picks, thank you for the follow. But no, yeah, I think it's just these are the sorts of things that I see. And a lot of the time, it's the what did we call it earlier? The journalists, the journalists that are making a bigger issue about these sorts of things, and they're non-issues. Nobody gives a shit. It's literally like the journalist needs to create some clickbait outrage to fund stuff, and so they're just coming up with problems. Like, I guarantee you, chat, in a couple more months, you're going to see another article about how Starfield still doesn't have a lot of players. Why? Because the journalist has to write an article about something. That's it. That's the only reason. And you're going to see another article about, like, one of the other games that came out recently, like Suicide Squad. Oh, man, it still doesn't have good players. Why doesn't it have good players? Like, that's all they're going to keep doing because they have to write it. Like a Resident Evil 5 incident? Yes, I saw IGN tried to write an article about Resident Evil 5 or something saying that you can't give it a remake because the game is racist. And I was like, huh? It was literally the first time I've ever heard that argument, and I've seen people play Resident Evil 5 numerous times. And I was like, wait, why are people saying it's racist? And I actually have no idea why. I assume there's probably some loose connection there, but like I don't actually know. 9/10, by the way. Wait, what's 9 out of 10? Oh, the rating that they gave it? Yeah. I do remember someone saying that, like, by the way, like when they rated the game years ago, they gave it a 9 out of 10, which I was like, that's funny. I'm sorry. They want something to be angry about. Yeah, they try to stir controversy and drama because it's what gets them clicks. And I think that's something that is so wrong in society. But that's also why, so chat, I do my part. Whenever I see an article about some dumbassery that IGN has written, I do my part. I continue to scroll and do not click on the article. That's all you got to do. Yeah, but I mean, isn't one of the characters in 5-0, isn't it like Shiva? And isn't she like from the area? I don't remember, right? But I also just assumed that it's like okay, you know, if that was Resident Evil 1, you maybe have some grounds to stand on. But that's Resident Evil 5, and at that point they're just world hopping. Like they're just looking for new locations to have a zombie outbreak in. Power World used the drama to get more famous. Oh, 100%. But that was 100% Streisand effect as well. Where like Power World was a thing. It was always controversial, but like because the people got so upset and tried to like defend Pokemon and defend Nintendo, it made Pal World even bigger. Like more people found out about Pal World through Pokemon players complaining about Pal World. Straight up. Straight up. And I don't know how people don't realize that's a thing. They're barbaric before turning into zombies. I don't know, right? Like, I don't think it's that big of an issue. Like, I can understand the sensitivity on it and stuff like that, but like, yeah, I still don't see it being that big of an issue because like you could make the same argument about Resident Evil 4 and like the Spanish people there. Like, and I didn't see anyone like saying like this is racist against Spanish people. Like, it is what it is, right? It's oddly realistic, maybe. The lore explains what happened. Yeah, I mean, I have seen people before. What was it? Oh, no, so Quiet in Metal Gear 5. Apparently there was like a lot of controversy when she came out because she was a over sexualized character. And I guess Hideo Kojima back then gotten in some hot water because he said that like the media didn't know what they were talking about, and that when they actually found out the reason why she looked the way that she did, that they would feel sorry. Hideo Kojima fucked up. And the reason he fucked up is because he assumed that there was any empathy from the other side. He assumed that people would be sorry when they found out, when the reality was they just wanted to be something to be angry about. That was the problem. So it's like he justified it with a bullshit answer. No. The answer is actually correct. Like there is a lore reason that she is dressed the way that she is. It's because she breathes through her skin. And the reason that she does is because that makes her a like much better sniper. Okay, that is the closest I've been to a fuck up. But yeah, like, so it's like, did he justify it? 100%. Was the character designed to be a sexy sniper girl? Yeah, 100%. It's not even the first one that's in the Metal Gear Solid series because you have Sniper Wolf. So like at the end of the day, was there an actual lore reason? Was Hideo Kojima correct? Sure. Did it make the people care? No, because the people that were upset were just upset over a sexualized female. That's it. And they were always going to be upset about that no matter what reason he gave them. Like, he could have literally said it was like inspired by a real life person that actually dressed that way, and they would not have given two shits. They would have still gotten upset. Something about her skin? Yeah, she actually breathes through her skin. That's why she does not wear a lot of clothing, is because she needs more surface area. Like, clothing is like constricting to her, where like it'll actually like choke her if she wears too much of it. Is it a stupid lore reason to have a like super sexy character? Yes, but there was an actual reason. Like, they did think of it. That's why Yoko Taro is based. Yeah. No, and it's like Yoko Taro, the Stellar Blade dude, who I think is also one of the Nikkei designers, right? Like at least they like came out and just like, yeah, because I want to see hot women. And that's where at least they understand that the other side is not like arguing in good faith. They just don't like you. They don't like what you've done, and they want to be angry at you no matter what. So it's like that's where you just own it. It's better to own it. Don't apologize for it. Did I see the demo? I saw the demo. I didn't get to play the demo. I saw the demo. I saw the hot chick from the demo and her outfit. I have not even seen gameplay of the demo. Haters be hating? Yeah, 100%. I love Resident Evil 5, by the way. Yeah, no. It's like I said, I know plenty of people that like to play Resident Evil 5, but like I said, that was the first time I've ever heard anyone call it racist. And here's why. Like, I never thought the game was racist. I never heard anyone call it racist. Why? I don't look at things with a racist lens. Like, I don't like sit here and go like, what can I find on this screen that's racist? Oh, that's a stereotypical French outfit. Like, I don't do shit like that. I just go like, ooh, shiny, or like, hey, that character's hot. Like that's it. I think that's how your average person probably views most things. And it's only like through perpetual outrage and race baiting that these people can actually seem to like gain any amount of like satisfaction most of the time. You don't hunt for things to be outraged about? Yeah, pretty much. It doesn't mean that I can't be a critic and that I can't complain about stuff. You guys have heard me complain about stuff before. But I don't know. Most of the time that I'm a critic, I try to be fair to things, and I at least usually like justify it by saying this is just my opinion, and people are welcome to disagree with it, right? I can't believe all the sexism in Jane Austen novels. Yeah, right? Like, completely sexist against men. It's almost like it was written by a woman. I mean, I don't like the Jane Austen novels, but, like, I don't care either. Like, I get that they're made for women. And that's fine. I think it's A-okay to, like, have different media for different people and stuff like that. As long as I'm going to say this, as long as it's not, like, extremely derogatory, as long as it's not like actually racist or actually like sexist, in the sense that it's like, it's not that it has an element of it, it's that it's like actually promoting it. And this is where I think the line in the sand gets drawn for most people. And most people, like, I think your average person's over here and says like, oh man, they actually are telling you to like go commit racist acts. That's racism. Versus like, oh man, they just mentioned a stereotype. That is not racism. That's not promoting anything. That's just a like thing that they're talking about in the story. Versus like telling someone to do something racist. No, that's promoting racism. So it's like most people have a tendency to be like, oh, it's promoting racism or something, or like it's promoting sexism and like a hypersexualized male worldview. And it's like, yeah, it's not. I'm sorry. I can't tell you how many times I've heard the buzz phrase toxic masculinity throughout my life, and I don't care to ever hear it ever again. Finally got him. Fairy Knight Lancelot Anchor came in clutch. Nice. Congratulations. No. It's not that black people can't be racist. It's that you can't be racist against white people. Which is really funny. Because that's just absolutely, completely untrue. Like, chat, what is racism? It's hatred based off someone's race. That's it. So if you hate someone because of their race, congratulations, you're a racist. Plain and simple. Like, also, this stream's gonna get like absolutely demonetized on YouTube. Hatred or discrimination based off race, regardless of race. Yeah, exactly. It does not matter. It's just a case of like, there's nothing about you being like the majority or anything like that. It's just if you hate someone based off their race, you're a racist. Not the best topic for streams, yeah. For example, people hate white people because they treat their home country as a sex tourist spot. Okay, but hold on. Is your home country a sex tourist spot? Yes. That is funny. Yeah, like I understand, right? Like I get why people have prejudices and stuff like that. I think most of the time prejudices are born from a lack of like knowledge more than anything. It's people don't understand, people are unempathetic, and the reality is like if you want to defeat stuff like racism and prejudice and stuff, it's like the easiest way is to say be empathetic. Like just try to walk a mile in the person's shoes and then you'll understand. I miss Ishizoku reviewers. I don't. I stopped watching it after the 3rd episode because it disgusted me. Did you guys see how the anime Ragna pull out Sigurd's NP? No, I didn't. This is the first I've heard of it, but I haven't been watching that one, so. Only how downright interesting the premise is? Yeah. We can all control how we speak and act. Yes. And I think this is another issue. I think that's largely a macro issue that floats around because of stuff like this. It's that, like, people just cannot take responsibility for their own actions anymore. They cannot, like... They cannot ever like be seen in a negative light. They just don't know how to process it. People have such a like warped worldview of themselves. In times of peace, people will create problems where none exist. Yeah, what's the saying? Hard times make hard men and soft times make soft men, or something like that. Ooh, a drop. But like I think it's just natural, like human beings look for conflict, and whether or not there is a current overarching conflict is another thing entirely. Oh yeah, strong men make good times make weak men make bad times make strong men. Yeah. Mine is a much more like succinct version, but yeah, that's definitely more eloquent. And that is like the sad part about it. It's like we look back and stuff and it's like yeah, man, like people used to be like way more polite about things. People used to be way more like accepting of things. And it's kind of like weird because like I don't know. I can remember at least like back to my younger years and like at least what like political discourse and stuff was like back then, and like there was just in general a lot more unity and a lot more like getting along. Now everybody's like super polarized and can't talk with each other. And it's just like it's fucking crazy to me. Who knew that time is a good looper, right? Time is a circle, and we just got done with Pie Day yesterday, chat. By the way, Bob, how was your pie? I also finished the CQs. Nice. Excellent. What type of pie did you make? I don't even remember you saying. I'll have my fucking revenge on Taiga when her EQ unlocks. Until someone cares enough to make a big deal about it. I mean, I'm someone that's of the opinion that like I think things said in jest are like just things said in jest, but where I have an issue, right? Like, I don't even care if someone wants to make a racist joke. There's so many like jokes about white people at this point that like you just have to shrug it off. And some of them are funny because they're like, yeah, like 100% the stereotype is true, right? But at the end of the day, I don't care as long as it's not said directly to me in a derogative way, right? Like, basically, there's a difference between saying like, I don't know, like white guys can't dance or something like that, and someone coming up to me and being like, bro, you can't fucking dance because you're white. One of those to me is like kind of funny and probably true. The other one is like, yeah, no, don't say it directly to me. At that point, you're just trying to insult me, right? Context matters. Yup. One is an attack, the other is not, right? And so that's usually where I draw the line. It's like if you're I usually don't care too much so long as you're not like actually targeting people. And if you are, then I have a problem with it probably no matter what you say, right? Brought dog to the vet? Ooh, what happened? Just a checkup. Nice. It's okay, Cad. We know you can't jump too. I mean, I'm not going to say I had like some insane vertical, but I could dunk chat. So there's that. How many people in chat could dunk? Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say this too. Like, I saw this the other day where like some person on Twitter apparently got like they got like put into a like psychiatric ward, and they were claiming that it's because somebody reported their Twitter to their school principal, and they were saying that they had their life ruined by this person at this point. But that person had also gone on an unhinged rant about like how they were gonna like basically shoot up their school, and like that like anything sorry, not how they were going to shoot up the school, but that how a school shooting could easily happen at their school because of like these points, and like spelling it all out, right? And it's like, yeah, no, that's 100% why you got reported. Like, I think people are stupid and they think they can just say whatever the hell they want, and that like there's no consequences to their actions. And so it's like, to me, that's the difference between like maybe you make an off-color joke to one of your friends. I don't care. Maybe you make an off-color joke to like somebody that you shouldn't. Like to somebody that like is actually the subject matter of that joke. You shouldn't do that. Maybe you make that same joke on the internet to everyone in a public place where everyone can view it. Yeah, you're gonna get shit on for that. I don't know why people are stupid enough to think that they can. Like, because that's all it is. It's just like they don't understand. They don't think about it. They just do it. And that's kind of the issue with social media in general. People talk way too much about things that they probably should not open their mouth about. All sorts of warning signs that no one took seriously. Yeah. Like if people scream fire and trigger a fire alarm in a public building, when there's no fire, and say freedom of speech, I'm like, bro, yeah, that's not freedom of speech. That's being a terrorist. In a weird way, it's being a terrorist, right? Like, you're not killing anyone necessarily, but your intent was 100% to disrupt and cause panic and fear. So, like, yeah, I don't know about that, right? And kids do pull fire alarms for, like, attention a lot of the times. Like certain congressmen. I think there was a congressman that pulled a fire alarm. I don't remember the whole specifics of that, nor am I going to get into it. Freedom of speech comes with responsibilities, yeah. And again, freedom of speech is not freedom of consequence, right? Like, I think it's like, that's just a natural thing, right? You have to be aware that whatever you say or do can have consequences. And I think that's something that most people just don't think about. At least, like, especially younger people on social media is what I'll say. I think as you get older, you begin to realize, like, hey, maybe I shouldn't do these things. Maybe that's not smart of me. Maybe I should be more mature. Insult someone prepared to get insulted back. Yeah, I mean, again, it's the golden rule, right? Treat people how you want to be treated. If you treat people like an asshole, expect to get treated like an asshole. Gone device free and kids are less stressed, less depressed, and test scores have improved. Oh, that's not even surprising. That is not even remotely surprising. Like, yeah, I 100% think that stuff like social media and having like perpetual internet access is a bad thing. There is the saying that ignorance is bliss. And it's one of those kind of things where it's like, yes, the less you know, the more likely you are to just pay attention to your current like task and situation at hand. And the more you're likely to focus, the more you are likely to succeed, and the more you are likely to like hone in and like continue to be good at what you're doing. The more open-ended and open-minded you are, the harder it is. And this is something I can speak to just as someone like that streams and tries to juggle a lot of things at once. It is very difficult to be successful in any one thing when I'm juggling so many like tasks that I have to do. People want to sway others to their worldview. Yeah, I think it's very much a totalitarian, if you're not with me, you're against me mentality. And I've said this sort of thing before too, that like, to me, I feel like there's way too much, and so this is gonna sound really bad, chat. Hear me out with an open mind, because I realize that like when I say this, the very first like words that I utter is gonna make people like jump probably. But I'm somewhat tired of the like mantra of diversity is our strength. And the reason why is that, well, yes, like we have a lot of diversity, and I think it's fine to have diversity. That one of the problems that I see nowadays, and I think back to like my childhood, is that we keep pushing the recognition of diversity and keep trying to focus on how different everyone is. And that's a problem. Rather than instead being like recognizing that we are all different and instead trying to show, here's how we're the same. Here is where we overlap. Here is where we are together on things, because that promotes a lot more unity. We are all different, but like join together. And that's what I think is actually the problem with like a lot of the modern messaging right now. You're unique like everyone else. Yeah, exactly. You are unique and completely unspecial. And that sounds awful, right? Because it's like, I think each and every one of you is special in your own way. But I think as we continue to push that, it's becoming divisive, and it's actually beginning to like split people apart and make people feel like they can't get along with each other, rather than saying like, hey, here's your common ground. Here is where you can get along. Here is where you are the same and you share the same values and things. We're so focused on being different that we're not focusing on how we're all the same and how we can all get along. And I actually think that's the problem. People just need to stop caring, like Morgan Freeman said. I don't think it's necessarily that you need to stop caring. I think it's that you need to realize that a lot of the issues that we face have perpetually been issues. And that like they are not solved overnight, and they're only solved by working together. It takes all types to solve a problem, not like, oh, hey, I know, let's have just like one side of things solve the problem, completely neglecting the concerns and desires of the other side. I think that's always an issue. I think you come to the best solution when all the sides work together. Period. Right? We didn't give a damn about the stuff of the 2000s. Yep. And that's exactly what I think about too, is that like I remember back to my childhood and just thinking like, yeah, I'm unique, I'm special, but so is everybody else. And I just need to respect that and realize that to a degree they're the same as me. Right? Like that's how I was raised. Like, and again, like I said, I was raised not to see color. I was raised not to necessarily see gender or anything like that. Like, just because someone is a man or a woman doesn't mean they can't do certain things. Just because someone is of a different race or nationality doesn't mean they can't do certain things. Like, I instead just view people as they themselves want to be viewed most of the time. And I think that is perfectly fine. And the only issues that I've ever had with people are where they get like up in my face and start insisting that like I again cater to their worldview or something like that. And I'm like, it's that concept of you just are going to have to agree to disagree and realize that not everyone's going to believe the same things. People also don't want to be proven right. They just want to win an argument. Yeah, I agree. And I've told you guys this before. I'm a very spirited debater with people. And I think a lot of the times people think that I'm like actually like angry and arguing with them. It doesn't mean that I haven't been angry and argued with someone before. Most of the time, though, I'm just debating things with people. And I'm very like energetic about how I do it. But at the end of the day, if I'm wrong on something, and you guys have seen this numerous times on stream, I am just willing to admit that I'm wrong. Or go like, I'm also someone that's not afraid to be like, I don't know. Like, and just openly admit that I don't know. People can't do that nowadays. Nobody seems to be able to admit that they don't know on something. Everybody has to be an expert. Everybody has to know everything at all times. And it's wild. I hate having to pick a side to any argument. Yeah, and I think again, this is where like context matters, and that like things can really be like variant depending on circumstances. Like something that works in one set of circumstances might not work in the next set of circumstances. Conflict is inevitable. Conflict is inevitable. But I also think that we need to have a level of decorum, decency, and respect, right? Like in everything. I think that's kind of what's gone, is that level of respect. And the reason that it's gone, the reason that we're not polite to each other anymore, is because we are constantly in an us versus them mentality. Everybody's out to get everybody else, and we all feel that way. Rather than instead like being like, oh, this person is probably arguing for this because they have a reason to argue for it. Instead, it's like, how dare they argue for this? Because it's the polar opposite of what I want. They're evil. That's usually the mentality that we see nowadays. They're not with me, so they're against me. And it's like, they might understand your plight too and just disagree. Like maybe usually people are a product of their circumstances. People are brought up in certain ways, and that's usually how their worldview and beliefs are shaped. Like, for instance, if you're someone that has experienced extreme like racism or like discrimination, you're going to feel a lot more passionately about those things. If you're someone that didn't really experience that, you probably think it's a big nothing. And that's usually how people's worldview is shaped, right? It's their experiences. People want to be the next Aristotle or maybe Ayn Rand. Yeah, I don't know. I talk a lot on this channel. I give you guys my opinions on things, but I'm going to go ahead and say this, and I don't think you'll hear many people say this. My opinion doesn't mean shit. If you choose to like take something from it and like learn anything from it, then I've done something good. But like, I don't think my opinion matters. I think there'll be a day where I'll finally stop streaming and like none of you will go back and be like, man, I remember Cad used to think this way. like it's not going to really change your life or matter. The whole reason to talk it out is because in some degrees it's therapeutic, but it's also just good conversation material. especially while we're playing a boring as shit lotto. My opinion is worth every cent you've paid me. Damn. So nothing. Your opinion is just that, an opinion. Whether you heed it or disregard it is up to you. Yeah, I completely agree. Either respect each other or just shitpost. That's my policy. Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with shitposting as long as, like, and I think this is somewhat of an issue, is like, I've definitely seen people, like, bust each other's balls. This is something that guys do all the time, right? But the reality is that, like, one of the people will end up getting pissed off in some circumstances. And that's my only issue with people is, like, if you realize someone is getting actually pissed off, dear God, stop pressing their buttons. If you keep pressing their buttons, you're not shit posting anymore. You're being an asshole. And that's what, like, I've had to, like, tell people, like, hey, stop, right? Because I think a lot of people don't realize that they're being, like, an asshole to people at times. Some things just take way too seriously. I agree. I completely agree. Opinions are like assholes. Everyone has them. Opinions are like butts. Everybody has them and they stink. 100%. Tell us more of your opinion for Saber. Oh, my opinion for Saber is that she's best waifu. And I 100% stand behind that opinion. You don't have to if you don't want to. Though I encourage you to. Come over to my worldview chat. Have you seen Valve CEO? Yeah, I posted that in gaming news. Again, you guys should get in the Discord and check out the gaming news section under my area of the Discord. I'm usually posting things that I see on Twitter. This could be announcements. Like, again, there was like a new Dragon's Dogma thing that was narrated by the guy from who basically ran the Continental and John Wick. I don't know why they had him come in and do it, but they did. So like for instance, in there I post stuff all the time. But yeah, like we had this stuff where it was like people arguing with Valve over basically, like, I guess it was Todd Sweeney, the CEO of whatchamacallit, of Epic Games, and he was at that time he was in the court case embroiled with Fortnite, because Epic Games and Fortnite and Apple were all battling, because basically Fortnite had tried to circumvent Apple and through Epic Games by allowing like things to be processed on Epic Games side, and Epic Games owns Fortnite. But I guess like Apple took offense to it and they took him to court, and like there was this huge like crap over whether or not they owed Apple like the fees and stuff like that. And so their argument was essentially that that Apple's 30% rate was untenable, whereas Apple's stance was that their 30% rate was the industry standard. And he ended up emailing people to let them know that they were going to have an Epic's Game Store launch and that like that whole service was going live. But in the process, he emailed Gabe Newell and ended up like basically calling Valve a bunch of assholes. So it says like, right now, you assholes are telling the world that the strong and powerful get special terms while 30% is for the little people. We're all in for a prolonged battle if Apple tries to keep their monopoly in 30% by cutting backroom deals with big publishers to keep them quiet. Why not give all developers a better deal? What better way is there to convince Apple quickly that their model is now totally untenable? Well, the reality is their model is not untenable. Todd Sweeney just thinks that. And again, he even says it up here. Again, he calls them a monopoly and says they have 30% fees that are untenable. But that's the whole reason why he CC'd Gabe Newell in this, is because Valve also takes a 30% cut. And that has been like at least a source of contention for people over time. But again, like, so he was basically telling them to like, he was emailing Gabe Newell and the COO of Steam and telling them, change your commission rate so we can win our court case against Apple. Like literally change your entire business model so we can win. It's the most selfish fucking stupid email I've ever seen. And the hilarious part about this is he ended up getting responded to by the COO, and it's just, you mad, bro? makes me laugh so fucking much because it's such a gamer response. So it's like, regardless of whether or not you like how you feel on the issue, I still just found that to just be fucking hilarious. Because even if you think that Valve shouldn't be charging that email was completely inappropriate and stupid and rude. And it's like, yeah, he got what he asked for. He got a rude response right back. Wait, Gabe said that? No. The COO of Steam at the time said that. Because Gabe didn't respond to it, because why would Gabe respond to that? That would have been a news story if Gabe did. Because that would have been a COO basically telling a CEO telling another CEO to fuck off. But yeah, it's just that just made me laugh so hard. Is this real? Yeah. Apparently it came out due to the court case that these documents were not leaked, but like made available, and now people can see that was actually the response for one of those. You mad, bro? The Saber best girl conversation therapy starts now. Oh, it like, I don't know. It's such an old conversation for me. Do I need to actually convince you guys that Saber is best girl? Valve's business strategy to do nothing succeed. Yeah, I mean, like, I definitely understand people, because we talked about this the other day, that like Valve should have more like what's the word I'm looking for here? Like more competition, right? Because that would make Valve better. And that's true. But the problem is Valve does have competition. Valve doesn't have a monopoly. Valve has a functional, consumer-driven monopoly. And the answer to why is because Valve has the clearly superior product at this point. The clearly superior service. It's consumers keep choosing Valve in droves because all the other options are shit. And that's what I think a lot of people don't understand. It's not that Valve created a monopoly. It's that consumers made them a functional monopoly, because every single time a competitor popped up, it always took the wrong stance, the money grubbing, the like business oriented anti-consumer stance. And Valve just keeps making pro-consumer like choices. So that's usually why Valve ends up on top. I will never like Valve after they do TF2 dirty like they've done. So like, explain to me, because I've actually never played TF2. So how did they do TF2 dirty? Like, are you just saying because like they stopped supporting it after a while? Because I know like it was insanely popular. Hellfire, thank you for the 31 months. Twitch servers realized today is the 15th. Indeed. But I appreciate it. Thank you for the resub. GOG is good too. Yeah, Good Old Games is great. Like I said, if I were going to use any other launcher than Steam, it would be Good Old Games. Because they're pretty consumer focused as well. And GOG is anti-DRM, which is really nice. Which basically means that any game that is available on GOG will not have scummy DRM stuff. So yes, it technically means you could pirate it, but it also means that your game won't run like shit because there's no like hidden background processes that are trying to like catalog your computer and trying to make sure that you're not using an anti-cheat or some bullshit like that. Or sorry, not an anti-cheat, but like actual cheat software or piracy software or anything like that. It's your game, yep. I never heard much of TF2 nowadays. Yeah, it's like it's weird because I never really got into TF2 and I'm not really sure why. I just know it was part of the Orange Box originally, and that like I never really tried it out. TF2 at its peak was better than Overwatch at its peak. Oh, I'm sure there are people that'll argue that, but like, yeah, I mean, at least from everything I've heard, it sounds like it was monetized better. Can you mess with the SR? The song I put in has been stuck and is not playing. I see Kimba's song is playing at the moment. Let me reboot it. The orange box is base TF2. That version was never updated. PC has the latest version. Yeah, I'm just curious as to why people are saying that like that Valve did it dirty, right? Like, because I actually don't know. I'm not like trying to be like confrontational or anything. I'm just actually it's the Starship Troopers meme. Would you like to know more? And the answer is yes. You might want to refresh on your end because I only see Strom Song in there after Kimba's. And I just completely rebooted Nightbot. Nobody would buy it wholesale, yeah. Space Cowboy, thank you for the 9 months. Hope you're doing good. Massive amounts of cheaters and not attempting by Valve to solve it. Yeah, and okay, so my understanding of Valve from a video game standpoint, so not from like Steam, right? Like not the marketplace, but from a game developer standpoint, is apparently, from everything I've heard, it's that Valve basically allows its developers like total freedom. So like they can absolutely choose whether or not to work on the project. So I guess they like got together and made like TF2 and they made a good game that everyone loved. And I assume at that point the developers became tired of it and decided to move on and make other shit. And that's it. Like it's that basically the developers have total freedom for what they work on. And so they just never went back and worked on it. That's my assumption, right? And that's apparently been the problem with like all of their titles. It's why Valve can't count to 3. It's why you don't have TF3. It's why you don't have Half-Life 3. It's because I guess their developers are working on other stuff. And those can be pet projects that never see the light of day. What other shit? Yeah, that's the big meme, is that like they have such freedom that like they don't even have to produce a game. And I guess that's because Valve just makes so much money that they can afford to just keep the developers on staff. Working on an old game is worse than working on new shiny technology. Yeah, like I said, that I don't really know. Valve, you do whatever you want to do. It's why Half-Life 3 never happened. Yep. But yeah, so like I said, like I'm not sure that's necessarily like Valve specifically doing TF2 dirty, so much as like the developers that work for Valve just don't care, which is interesting, at least to say the least. Like, and I'm sure that is frustrating too, because it's like, especially nowadays where we have so many more games as a service and we're used to games getting like supported after launch. I think it's like, that's such a wild concept and a wild way to like do business. It's something that like I would not think is like tenable or like anything that they could keep up long term, but I guess they do. But yeah, I have no idea like what Valve is working on in the interim. Actually, chat, let me see where I'm at right now in terms of, well, I guess after this run, we'll see where I'm at in terms of boxes. Now, chat, tomorrow, like I said, I'm probably not going to stream. I'm going to, probably just going to veg out, like, watch stuff. I don't know if chat's down to like watch something in particular. I won't continue the Avatar marathon. I will leave that on Tuesdays because I like the people that can be there on Tuesday expect it to be on Tuesday. So I'm not going to like screw them by watching it on a different day. But yeah, I don't know if there's like something else that people want to watch in the interim. City Hunting live action? I did see a trailer for that today. I never saw the original City Hunter, though. You have good turnout for Avatar? Yeah. And I hope to continue to. Like I said, I want to watch stuff that chat wants to watch, but I realize that the reason so many people are showing up for Avatar is because people want to watch Avatar, because it's like somewhat in demand due to the live action coming out. How did I like book one? I thought it was yeah, so we finished the first season. So again, if any of you guys want to catch up, just watch the first season on your own and you'll be caught up to us. I thought it was good. I was super confused by like the final episode there. Just because it was like, okay, this is getting weird. But I thought it was good. And like I said, I watched at least the first episode of the live action. I've also been told about the show by fans of the show, cough cough Bob. Out of all of that, like, I am pleasantly surprised at how comedic the show is. I like the main cast, and I think the only times that I have any issue with the show overall is when it gets like too childish. And it's usually just when like Aang or Sokka or one of them is making like some cheesy, stupid face. But that's basically it. And like I at least can appreciate that like they're making that face because of something that's going on, probably comedic wise. But Valve are working on Mahaprayalaya. I hope not. But yeah, so like I don't know. I thought it was good. I actually I can easily see why the show is so popular, why people say it's like GOAT, right? Because as far as a children's show goes, this show at least seemingly has a very coherent storyline and good writing to it. And it feels like it's also just very witty and funny. It's got decent action. And so the reality is like, even though it's a show for kids, it manages to do a great job of just being a good show, period, for like all ages. It's amazing, yeah. You said the VHS box set of Record of Lodoss War. I've never watched Record of Lodoss War. I tried to watch it once. I think I got through like 2 episodes. But it was both a combination of the old anime quality and the site that I was watching on just had a very, very shit quality version of it. So that like it was doubly bad. And it was difficult to find the episodes hosted anywhere when I was trying to watch it. So I'd definitely be down to watch it on its own. But yeah, I have never found a good way to watch it. Granted, I have not tried in a while. About Ashram and the freaking bakery. There's a Metroidvania Lodoss game? Oh, I never knew. Oh, hold on. Let's check where I'm at. Okay, so I'm currently at 32,000, chat. If anyone... Well, that's 50 boxes. Sweet! I've done my amount that I need to do for today. My goal is to do about 50 boxes a day right now. So the fact that I managed to get 50 boxes done in day 1 is actually really good. I did not think I would reach this amount. I'm barely at 10, and it's fine. 53 plus? Nice. Ashram's my favorite character. Listen, I can't talk too much about it because, again, I haven't watched it, right? It's based off notes from the creator's old D&D campaign while in college. It's why the party always has the same number of people. No matter who leaves or dies, they would roll up a new character. Oh, interesting. I didn't realize that. But, like, I do feel like that's been at least a trend with some more of the, like, more recent animes as well, that they're very much D&D based. Again, Delicious in Dungeon, Goblin Slayer. I'm trying to think if there was another one as well, because I feel like there was another one recently in the prior season. Work only allows me so much time. Same. Oh, I did try to, because, like, again, sometimes I do watch some stuff at work, chat. Particularly, like, Western shows because they're in English, so I don't have to watch them. I finished the entirety of all of Star Wars. So I've now watched all of what is available for Bad Batch. I finished Clone Wars. I finished Rebels. Which is wild because I've been able to like just veg out on a whole bunch of that stuff while blasting through Returns. But like, oh god, Bad Batch is really nice. I actually really like Bad Batch. Bad Batch has been really good. Rebels was good for like the first 3 seasons, and it's only like at the end of season 3 that it starts getting weird. And then after that point, it like goes off a fucking cliff. It gets really, really weird. And I don't like it. Like, to me, part of it is it's 100% like the forced setup of Ahsoka, the show. And it is hyper plot convenient, and it's absolutely like shitting on prior lore. So I don't really like how Rebels ended. They became better the moment they brought in Thrawn. No, actually, I don't like Thrawn being in Rebels. Thrawn was never supposed to be the like guy that the Rebels were fighting in the middle of the Galactic Civil War. He's somebody that like has moderate success, but is kept like at least like in check because of the like xenophobia of the Empire. And it's not really until post like Empire that he actually becomes more prominent. I did read that apparently, due to some retconning in their end of things, that they supposedly, I think it was like after the Battle of Yavin, he got made to be a Grand Admiral, a secret Grand Admiral, but like it was not even made public till after the death of the Emperor. So like, while I like Thrawn as a character, there were a couple things that really pissed me off about Rebels. And one of them is like the fact that they actually win and like destroy the factory on Lothal, giving the Rebel Alliance their first real victory. That's actually supposed to be the destruction of the Death Star in A New Hope. That's supposed to be the first Rebel Alliance real victory. It's the turning point where people realize the Empire could be defeated. That is also why the entirety of the Star Wars timeline is bisected by the Battle of Yavin. Everything is dated as either BBY before the Battle of Yavin or ABY after the Battle of Yavin. It's literally the turning point in history. So I didn't like that Rebels tried to like upstage it somewhat. But yeah, it's like certain things like that piss me off, but I realize it's also them trying to like somewhat rewrite the canon for Disney. But yeah, I think other than that, I was okay with it. I do like Thrawn. I think his portrayal is a little off, but that's mostly because they've kind of actually like, due to Disney's meddling, kind of messed with his original like motivations and like why he's actually there helping the Empire. Thrawn was exiled and only returned after the Empire fell. Yeah. I really need to read the Thrawn trilogy. It's absolutely fantastic. If you're going to read anything from the expanded universe, read the Thrawn trilogy. But no, like I said, I liked the first 3 seasons of it for the most part, because I just liked the cast. I thought the cast was really good. And it's from there that a lot of it just starts getting kind of weird to me. And I'm gonna say this: I don't mind them putting Thrawn in there. I just didn't like that he became like the big boogeyman. I thought that was bad. There's supposed to be a bigger threat out there waiting, and the Empire is, yeah. So the whole reason he helps the Empire is because he, in his somewhat cynical approach to things, views that the Empire is the only organization that can unite the galaxy, bring it together to fight the threat. And so that's 100% why he ends up like fighting things. He came across the Yuzheng Vong, yeah. Which I do think, out of the EU, the Vong are like the biggest mistake that the EU makes. I think when they started getting into Vong stuff, it started just getting weird. Because they're like, The concept in Star Wars is that like everything, like the Force is in all things, like everything that's alive and everything like that, and so it's like the Force is everywhere. It's just this like omnipresent like actual like power, right? And so when they get to the Yuzhang Vong are this like species from outside the galaxy that have traveled to the galaxy. They use biotechnology, so they have like living ships and stuff like that. And even though everything that they have and do is alive, nothing that they have and do is detectable within the Force by the Jedi. It's such a like stupid plot point, and it gets really bad later on. So that's I think why a lot of people have issues with the Vong. And supposedly within Disney canon, from what I've heard, because there's now like a new Thrawn trilogy that they had Timothy Zahn come back to do. And I guess like for that new trilogy, he's writing a different threat to be out there. Like a bacteria like metachlorians? No, it's space magic. Screw the metachlorians. It's space magic. I understand, and I don't like. I'm okay with the concept of metachlorians, but I think it's just stupid. Like, there's certain things where you're not like if it's actually supposed to be magic, it's not supposed to be explained. It's supposed to be this like just weird effervescent power that like people can tap into because they have a connection to it, because they are either special or they like had a unique like set of circumstances that allowed them to tap into it, right? That's how space magic works. It's supposed to be like non-scientific. And the problem is they tried to scientific it. Because that is what makes like Star Wars unique amongst sci-fi, is that it has some mystery, it has some space magic to it, as opposed to like in a lot of sci-fi, most things are just explained due to the fact that they are science fiction. Mystery is part of the charm. Exactly. Damn it, Lucas, we don't need power levels. Yeah, and I think that's kind of largely what it was born from. Is like they needed a way to like quantify why the Chosen One was the Chosen One and why he was so strong. He's got super metachlorian count. They provide force powers to the user. They are merely intermediaries. Yeah. But that's why I don't like it, is because then like there's all sorts of like weird shit that can come of that. And to be fair, they kind of stop with metachlorians. They basically like they explain that that's how the Force works, and they just like never really touch on it again. They get brought up all the time in conversations for like point of reference, but they don't like go any deeper into it. And I think it's because Lucas realized he had made a mistake. He kind of knew like, oh shit, we should not actually explain metachlorians more. Because if we do, then there's going to start to be rules to the metachlorians, and then there's going to be problems with those rules. And in the end, it wasn't Anakin, but Luke. No, Anakin was the chosen one. Anakin brought balance to the Force. He brought the Sith down to 2, and he brought the Jedi down to 2. That was the balance. Like, the problem here was the Jedi didn't realize that if they had 10,000 Jedi Knights, and there were 2 Sith out there, that bringing balance to the Force was bringing all of this down to equal numbers. And to be fair, there was another way that could have happened. You could have had 10,000 Jedi Knights, and then suddenly 10,000 dark side users. That would have also brought balance. But that would have also been really bad. He did kill the Emperor, technically. Yeah, and I think that's like what's implied to heavily be the case, is that like Anakin brings it all down to equal levels, but technically the Emperor is still like super overpowered. So him kind of getting rid of the Emperor in and of itself is him fulfilling the prophecy. It's him basically bringing balance to the Force. But yeah, I agree. Then you get into the EU, and then technically the Emperor uses his spirit to go over to like one of his clones that he made, the super young and more powerful clone of himself. And Anakin obviously isn't there to stop that, but Luke does. And the explanation that I've seen for that is that Anakin is still the chosen one, and he's the chosen one by virtue of he's Luke's father. So he still ended up bringing balance to the Force. The reason this doesn't work with the Disney canon is because Rey does it, and Rey has no connection to the Skywalkers other than Luke. And that's just really weird because she basically forgoes Luke's training and goes off on her own. So it's like, to me, it's a much further and harder stretch to try and apply that to Rey. And it becomes even stupider since Rey's the one that ends up killing Palpatine in the end. And then people have to go like, oh, but it could be that Ben Swallow is actually the one that did it, and she wouldn't have done it without Ben Swallow, and there's the... It's like, yeah, you're getting way too disconnected at that point. I'm okay with the concept of like, yeah, Luke did it, and Luke was the son, so that worked. But like, I'm not okay with like, oh, but then it was Luke's pupil with the help of like Luke's nephew. I'm like, nah, you're getting too far removed from the chosen one. Put a chicken in and make her gay, Kennedy. Yeah, I don't like Kathleen Kennedy. I think Kathleen Kennedy is the epitome of everything we were talking about earlier in the stream. And she's a big chunk of the problem in Star Wars. He has the last name Skywalker? Sure, yeah, the last name Skywalker. How many boxes do you have now? Apparently I'm over 50. I firmly believe that they took parts of the Zahn novel and applied it to their films. Kylo was supposed to be Jason. Yes, 100%. Rey was supposed to be either Jaina or twin sister. No, so I don't think... I think, like, Rey is kind of supposed to be Jaina, but I actually think she's more supposed to be, like, Bastila Shan from the Old Republic. I think that's actually where they steal the archetype from. Because if you look, she starts out with a freaking staff. And it's like, come on, man. No peace, just Republic and Sith Empire duking it out. Yeah, I do think that's why a lot of people just like the Old Republic mentality. It's just like it's equal balance between good and evil at high stakes, going toe to toe. One of the reasons I like the old EU as opposed to like Disney's bullshit is because in the old EU, Luke, after overthrowing the Empire, you have a lot of like subplots. You have the formation of the New Republic and all the politics and intrigue going on with that. Very Game of Thrones-esque in that regard. You have the formation of the New Jedi Order under Luke, him going out and finding more pupils, training people to become masters, and having them train more pupils as well. And you also have this concept that out there are a bunch of remnants of the Empire. So you have the actual Imperial remnant that still is like a bunch of warlords roaming around that are loosely connected to each other, still trying to operate as if they are the ruling force, and all the problems that they cause. You also have Palpatine's assassins, one of which actually ends up trying to kill Luke and ends up, giving Luke some tail because she ends up marrying Luke and being the mother of his children. And then you also end up having the concept of basically there being dark side users. These are people that were either former inquisitors, people trained by the Empire for various things, or again, people that were just force sensitive that didn't have anyone there to guide them and turned to a path of evil. These are the Dark Jedi. And they are out there in the galaxy. They are a threat. They are going around, and they're very loosely connected themselves. They have their own, I think it's covens. I don't remember the exact term that they use for it. But basically that like there is an equal opposite and problematic Force to the new Jedi Order. And the new Jedi Order is scrambling to get these like children of the Force and train them up in the proper ways to be good. Meanwhile, there's a whole bunch that they can't get to that are turning to evil. And I actually think that's a much cooler plot point than any of the bullshit retreading with like, oh, it's just the Sith again, or oh, it's just the Empire again. So I actually do like that. The Luke reverse hentai corrupts his wife. No, it's really funny actually, and I don't want to spoil it too much because that's a good chunk of the Zahn novels, the Thrawn trilogy. But like, she straight up tries to kill Luke and ends up getting like stranded with Luke, and then because they're stranded and they have to get out together, she ends up like forming a respect for him, because he managed to like survive the Emperor and survive all this shit. And she ends up like having that respect, but still thinking that she's duty bound to like kill him. And then over time, that ends up like kind of fostering into a relationship. She tries to kill him multiple times, and it's great. Dathomir had a lot of them. Yeah, it's one of the other things I don't like that Filoni did. Filoni basically killed he killed off the Night Sisters, and the Night Sisters are not supposed to be dead. They're supposed to still be alive and kicking. But I'm not sure who you guys are talking about there, but yeah, like I don't know. Like I've always preferred the EU. Not everything about the EU is great. Apparently, like the Mandalorian lore in the EU is pretty trash as well. But I don't think it's at this point. I don't think it's any worse than some of the crap that like is getting pulled in like Rebels or crap. Even like the Clone Wars. I'm sorry. Like I like the Clone Wars, but I think the concept of the Mandalorians are pacifists is one of the stupidest like concepts that anyone's come up with in Star Wars. Like, no, they don't just go to being pacifists overnight, nor do they like immediately thereafter readopt being militarists. It's like it's such a forced plot contrivance that I cannot get behind it. And while I do like the Mandalorian siege arc in Clone Wars, I think it's really high stakes and really awesome. There's a lot of stuff that like should not be there. Darth Maul should absolutely be dead and should not be part of the story. So if you can get past that, it's okay that he's there. But then there's also the concept of like, why would he even go to Mandalore? Why are Mandalore even pacifists in the first place? That I just find to be really stupid. Don't Zahn novels suggest a different version of the Clone Wars from what we got? I don't remember. And the reason I say that is because they were written, I think, before the Clone Wars, like before we had the prequel trilogy. But so I could easily see that being the case. But yeah, I don't actually remember if that's a thing. Knights of the Old Republic handled Mandalorians well. Yeah, the maybe the only issue I have with Knights of the Old Republic in that regard is just that like Knights of the Old Republic took the concept of like Mandalorians from the original trilogy and said, ooh, what if we just made them thousands of years earlier? And that's kind of what they did with like a bunch of the concepts. That's why like you still have the Republic, you still have the Empire, which is just the Sith Empire. Like they basically took all the tropes from the original series, jumped them backwards 1,000 years in time, and then said they were fundamentally the same. So I do like the Old Republic, but yeah, it does get a little like samey in that regard, and I wish they had maybe taken some more chances and done some more things. Like for instance, the Hutts are still around in the Old Republic timeline, also doing Hutt things. Like it seems like the galaxy legitimately stagnated over thousands of years and never did anything. But I don't mind it. It's super bad right now at Disney management. Lots of fights everywhere. Yeah, I've heard. And it's like, oh, well, I don't care. Doesn't hurt me. I live in Florida, but I don't give two shits if Disney goes away. And part of that, I think, is because, like, I at least think that how Disney is currently conducting itself is not good. I don't think it's very children-oriented. I think they're getting way too activist. They're getting way too politicized. They're getting way too, like, in everyone's face, and the reality is just that like Disney just needs to going back to focusing on like what actually makes it money and what actually makes it a good and positive force in the world. Didn't Revan get his mastering award with Mandalore? I believe so, yeah. Yeah, like don't get me wrong, I actually like a lot of the Old Republic storytelling, and that's my only issue with it, is that like it's somewhat creationally bereft, but it's done so on purpose. The whole reason they did all of that was to keep an air of like familiarity with within Star Wars. They announced new movies and canceled them months later. Yep. Does Kennedy have dirt on that she hasn't been fired? I don't know. I from everything I've heard, it's that she's basically on the way out. She's been functionally neutered at this current point in time. Like, I have heard that apparently Filoni is back to having full creation control, but I don't know. Because then if that's the case, why haven't we heard of a bunch of like new Star Wars stuff getting announced? So I'm not sure like what rumors to believe at this point. Speaking of that, is Mickey Mouse off contract with Disney? I assume you're talking about copyright. Steamboat Willie, the original 1 HP. The original concept of Mickey is off that, but like Mickey himself is not off. And remember, guys, you can still draw something like Mickey. You just can't make money off of him. That's still going to get you in hot water. Was also appealing was that the current CEO was like, and why are other people make so much money with it? We need to do that too. Yeah, I talked about that before. Bob Iger was saying that they realized that like this was because they made a recent deal with Epic Games, which I hate. If Disney starts pumping out stuff on Epic Games, especially Star Wars stuff, I'm not gonna buy it. Not unless they do a really good job with the game, right? But they made a deal with Epic Games, and Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, came out and said that they realized that the majority of today's youth are playing video games more than they're watching movies or TV, and that they realized that they needed to get more into that. And people were mocking him because it was Bob Iger used to be CEO of Disney. He stepped down for a while and gave it to someone else, and then the board asked him back because Disney was struggling. And so it's funny because under his original tenure as CEO, he actually closed down Disney Interactive Studios and Lucas. And sorry, technically this one wasn't under him because I don't think they had bought Disney at the time. But then also LucasArts Studios had been closed down. And like, so basically they're saying, oh, we need to go into it. But they technically are responsible for 2 studios that got closed. That everyone's like, yeah, why did you close them? You shouldn't have done that. Star Wars has turned into something so different than what we saw of it in 1976. Yeah, and that's like, I'm okay with the concept of Star Wars expanding. I just don't like what Disney has done with it. I don't like the direction they're taking it. So it's like, to me, the one, like, out of all the crazy shit that happens in Rebels, okay, there is a subplot that it is possible to travel between galaxies through time and space. So time manipulation, spatial manipulation through the Force. That it is possible to do these things. And the only thing that I hope, because that is such a stupid concept lore-wise, so the only thing that I hope is that they use that concept to create an alternate universe in which the Star Wars sequels didn't happen. That's my only hope. Help me, Dave Filoni, you're my only hope. But like, that's my only hope, and that's probably coping at this point. But at least it would give Disney the ability to save face and still market the sequel trilogy, but also allow the fans that fucking hate it to just be able to move on to something else. Yeah, I'm not going to get into that hotcake because that's politicking. Old Luke standing over young Rey in the orphanage. No. I mean, I don't know. Like, I even think someone like Rey could still be a character, even if you redid that. And the only problem with Rey is that they made Rey such a Mary Sue. Like, I don't hate Rey as a character. I hate what they did with Rey as a character. It's not the concept of her that's the problem. It's how they created her and wrote her. Like, again, I've heard people say that Star Wars fans are sexist and that they can't stand a female lead. And I'm like, well, if you say that, you're clearly not a Star Wars fan because Star Wars has had female leads. And it's like Star Wars fans don't have issues with female leads. They have issues with badly written characters. You can do a character like Rey well. Yeah, absolutely. Like, again, her concept is coming from Bastila, and it's like, oh, sorry, I keep saying Bastila. It is Bastila, but it's also Satele Shan, the later on in the Star Wars MMO, the Old Republic. She's the one that actually uses the dual blade lightsaber. That I think that she's based off of, but it is fundamentally still pulling from Bastille because she's the or Bastila Shan, because that's the like ancestor of Satele. Princess Leia, anyone? No. So they don't like Princess Leia being held up as an example because Princess Leia was like a sex icon back then. Like, especially after the third movie where she had the functional like bikini armor, right? Like, that's why they don't want her to be promoted as being a good example of a female lead. Whereas like, and I'm someone, chat, that like, okay, so I started trying to watch the movie Rebel Moon today. I stopped watching it after a half hour. Here's why. For starters, the show's aesthetic is just kind of like meh to me. Like it's not very like good. But even from there, it had a female lead. I don't have a problem with that. The female lead was super strong. I don't have a problem with that. Where I had a problem with it was the female lead, within the first 30 minutes of the movie, rescues two, quote, damsels in distress. The damsels were men. And the reason I have a problem with this is I don't care if you make a female running around kicking ass and being a badass, but I don't want to see a female like punch an alien and knock him flat on his back, or like twist his arm around and slam him down on the table, and then watch a guy punch the same thing and hurt his hand. I don't want to see that. That's stupid. Especially if it's not like a super nerdy effeminate guy. Like, this is actually a guy that's chiseled and has like good muscles. It's like, no, it's just stupid. This is just like somebody's fetish at this point. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to watch it. It's just not properly written. So it's like, it's the strong female turned up to 11, and I have problems with that most of the time. It's not that I have an issue with there being a strong female. I have an issue with the strong female being physically strong and portraying males as physically weak, because I just think that's not realistic in the slightest. Not without some sort of good explanation for why that's the case, right? Yeah, it's just sexist, basically. But yeah, it's like I don't care if they want to have a strong female protagonist. I think that's a-okay, and I've seen that in plenty of stuff and seen it work. It's just, yeah, I don't really care to watch something that is just so out of touch with reality. Maybe they used the Force. Listen, maybe, but at least prior to that point, they haven't indicated that there was any sort of Force-like power in that universe, right? My sexual proclivities prevent me from being sexist, sadly. I see. Star Wars would just die off for at least a couple of years and look completely dead and then maybe come back. What Kathleen Kennedy did to Star Wars makes me hate it. I just choose to ignore it. Like, I literally don't pay attention to these sequels. The sequels, to me, are non-canonical. Because, like, they exist, and I hate that they exist. I actually hate it. And most of the reason that I hate that is, like, they actually character assassinated people. Like characters like for instance, Luke Skywalker, okay? Luke Skywalker, I love Star Wars growing up. Luke Skywalker is one of my favorite characters. You could consider him somewhat of a like role model in that sense for me. So then I watched this character that valued his friends and would go to any length for them, to the point of even stopping his training, dropping everything, and rushing to save them, even when his master told him not to the point of believing in his father's redemption when everybody in the galaxy told him that that was not a good idea and that like he was too far gone. Even his father told him he was too far gone. But Luke believed in him and found a way to redeem him. To then watch that character go, my nephew is having some bad dreams. I'm going to go kill him in his sleep. Whoever wrote that is a fucking dumbass. That's all I can say. Like, I absolutely cannot forgive them for that, because there is no amount of like stretching that you can do to make that make sense. That's just completely contrary to that character's core beliefs. It is a different character that got written. And so that's like, yeah, that's a big no-no for me. Especially not without proper setup. Is Plug the only MC you have left to level? Yeah, that's the only reason why I'm using it. I feel the same with Halo now. I do not want to watch the media or buy the games now after Infinite. Been burned too many times. Yeah, I don't blame you on that, right? And I'm going to say this, chat. So with regard to Star Wars, there's a new show coming out in the summer called Acolyte. My advice, wait for reviews before you ever even bother to watch it. The reason why? It's apparently the last show that Kathleen Kennedy is in charge of. And it's got a predominantly female cast. So, I can already see where this one's going. If it was actually that Snoke used the Force on his prosthetic to forcibly activate it to force Kylo to his side. Yeah. And it's also an equally stupid plot point to go, my uncle is standing over me with a lightsaber. I don't like that. So now I'm going to like disable him by causing a cave-in on him. And then because of that, I'm going to go murder everyone. So like they blamed like Luke trying to kill him as the turning point that made him go commit mass murder. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that. Like, you might have killed Luke, but you wouldn't have just immediately turned around and committed mass murder. That kind of proved him right. And that's why, like, none of this makes any sense. Like none of the motivations for the characters are founded in any sort of, like, basis of reality. And so that we're clear here, I know we're talking about fantasy. I know we're talking about a fictional story. But one of the concepts of good fantasy, of good fiction, is to take reality and change one or two things about it. So Star Wars is 100% drama. It is realistic drama set in a space opera setting. That's the change. It's the space opera setting. So how the characters react should still be reasonably realistic. Not like, oh, well, because it's a fictional setting, I can do whatever the fuck I want. It's like, no, your characters still need to make sense. And the reason why is that's what keeps the reader invested, the reader that exists in the real world. That's how they form a connection to the characters, is they have similarities to them. Nobody can really form the connection with either of the characters at that current point because nobody would react in either of those ways. Like, you wouldn't go like, man, my nephew's getting influenced by an evil power. I know, I'm gonna go kill him in his sleep. you would be like, wait, I should probably talk to him about this and tell him that, like, these thoughts are unnatural and that, like, he should not heed them. And that, like, hey, I'm gonna need to, like, help you with this so that you don't turn to the dark side because you're headed down this path. And Luke did talk to him and warn him before that point. Luke just, like, completely jumped to murder. And I'm like, yeah, it makes no sense to me. What's the Alien movies motto? No one can hear you scream in space or something like that. Yeah, and like, you look back to some of these and it's like, Alien is just like, it's your stereotypical, like, horror serial killer movie where you're being stalked by a serial killer. Only the serial killer is an alien. That's what's different about it, right? Like, it is a serial killer horror movie set in space when the serial killer is an alien. But the way Ripley behaves is still 100% like anybody trying to run from a serial killer and trying to turn the odds in their favor. The Skywalker way is murder, though. Yeah, I mean, like, in a weird way, that's what it felt like they're trying to do. Is they tried to make Luke killing his nephew into Anakin killing the younglings. And I'm like, but Luke hadn't fallen to the dark side? Like, so that makes no sense at all. Kill them before they become a problem? No, like, and it's definitely, again, for someone that believed in their father and that they could be redeemed, to not believe in your own nephew and believe that they could be redeemed is really weird, right? It's even got the last girl trope. Yep. How would they subvert the series and make it for in the modern times? That's true. Yeah. If they didn't do that, how else were they going to assassinate? How else were they going to character assassinate Luke? I agree. You're on to something. To be fair, Luke was much older than. No. You said 3 words there that are incorrect. To be fair, there's no being fair with this. They set out to immediately destroy that character, so it's why, like, I'll give them no benefit of the doubt. There is no being fair with, like, somebody that just wants to destroy the series. Don't even get me started on Han either. At least with Han, we know that a big chunk of why that happened is because Harrison Ford put his foot down and said he wouldn't be part of the sequels unless they killed him off. Like, Harrison Ford was like, I'm done with Star Wars. And they begged him to come back. And he said, the only way I'll come back is if you kill my character so that I don't have to be part of Star Wars anymore. Like, straight up. That one I understand. It sucks, but, like, they were kind of forced into that one. He felt Han should have died in Return of the Jedi. Yeah, and I can see where that comes from, because if you guys think back to the original trilogy, there's this subplot going on through 3 movies that basically Han and Luke are competing for Leia. And it's not until the 3rd movie that you find out that Luke is Leia's brother. Whether or not that was planned all along, I don't know. But, like, I think at least by the time of the 3rd movie, they did that to, like, make way so that Han could get Leia. But, I think maybe in Harrison Ford's mind, he thought that, like, that Luke should have gotten the girl after Han nobly sacrificed himself. And it would have made for a better plot point. And to a degree, it would have at least been an interesting thing. You'd have the scruffy vagabond renegade type character who romances the princess and then ultimately proves to be, like, a man of worth by sacrificing himself, showing, like, chivalric values and stuff like that. But yeah, it's like, while I can understand that, I also understand why they went the direction they went. There is no Star Wars sequel series? Yes. There is what's the phrase, chat? There's no war in Ba Sing Se or whatever. There is no Tsukihime anime. At least that's what I've been told. The funniest thing about the Old Republic timeline is how Anakin is a great and strong character in the Clone Wars and somehow became a whiny sack of shit in the third movie. No, I mean, I'm gonna say this. I think he's a whiny sack of shit in all three movies. Like it's always there. I think the Clone Wars TV show doesn't show that, though. At least for the most part. Though he does have times where he basically argues with Obi-Wan about things and stuff like that. You'll see those episodes soon enough. Yeah, I've been told. The Tsukihime anime has such a good OST. Well, how could it have such a good OST since it never happened? Like, if it doesn't exist, how can there be an OST of it? But no, the reason I saw the Ba Sing Se memes were because of I think when the show came out, people were debating what was better between the live action show on Netflix or the movie by M. Night Shyamalan. And people were saying there's no movie in Ba Sing Se. And that's like, I ended up going and asking Bob, I was like, what is this meme about? And he's like, oh, well, in Ba Sing Se, they actually like turn a blind eye and say that there is no war. And so that's where it comes from. I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, that's actually doubly funny because it perfectly fits. Like they're denying that the movie exists, but it's an actual like in lore meme, and I love that actually kind of works like that. Wasn't the original plot script of Lucas that Luke and Leia would be a pairing? I don't know. I've heard some of the things about like how things were originally supposed to be. Like, I think it must have been that way, IA, because I remember Han Solo was originally supposed to be like this frog-like alien. So that's probably why, right? But yeah, I don't know at what point he decided to change that, or if it was like done for specifically the movie. Rey is Basta LaShawn at home? Yes. Even though Leia has one of the most badass scenes in the movie, she kills Jabba the Hutt. Yeah, 100%. She chokes him out with his chain, which is great because it's like, it's also the motif of like, you've got a slaver and he's being killed by the chain that he uses to bind other people, right? Like, again, there's a lot of like really good like motifs and stuff in older movies that I just feel like are totally lost nowadays in a lot of modern storytelling. It's very rare to see anyone make like allegories or like try to like allude to certain themes and stuff like that. Everything's just made for shock value and subverting expectations. I own the Tsukihime anime. Well, of course you do. You just made it up. I wonder where Jabba's son has gone in Return of the Jedi. Don't ask me, right? I have no idea. Subverting expectations for its own sake is bad writing. Yeah, I mean, I talked about this, that when I watched The Last Jedi, the second movie in the sequel trilogy, you know, again, like at the time I had watched the first movie and I thought obviously it was a rehash. People didn't like it because it was a rehash, but most of us were like cautiously optimistic that it's like, oh, well, hopefully yeah, it's a rehash, but hopefully it's the start of something good and they go in a different direction from here. And then I watched the second movie and I remember walking out of the movie with my buddy and thinking it was an entertaining movie. Like, I didn't immediately hate The Last Jedi. I watched it through and I was like entertained. And the reason I was entertained is because the entire movie subverted expectations. The things that I kept thinking were going to happen weren't what happened. everything kept happening differently than what I thought it would. So I walked out of that movie having predicted none of it, and then I sat in the car on the ride home with my bud, talking with him, and the more we talked, the more I realized I hated the movie. I like it was one of those things where I was like, oh my God, yeah, that was terrible. Why the fuck did they do that? Because it's like, while I was watching the movie, I didn't have time to think about these things really. But the second I got done with it, I was like, no, that was terrible. I've never had that same reaction to any other movie that I've ever watched. That was a wholly unique reaction. And it's all because everything happened in a way that it shouldn't have happened. Without the damn casino plot, Last Jedi is at least passable. No, it's not. But I do agree the casino plot is just wholly pointless and stupid. And it's like, I saw a bunch of people saying like, like people just hate it because of like the ethnicity of the actors and stuff. And I'm like, don't get me wrong, there were some people that were assholes that harassed the actors. Should not harass the actors, chat. Is it Daisy Ridley's fault that Rey is a shit character? No. In the same way that it wasn't Hayden Christensen's fault that Anakin was written poorly. Like, it's the writer's fault. It's not the actor's fault. They're doing the best they can with the shit lines that they got given. And while some actors have the prestige, the reputation that precedes them to allow them to be able to like talk openly with the director and negotiate to have a scene changed for the better. If you're someone that's like, you're honored to have been selected to be in Star Wars, you don't have that. You're not that person. You're not Christopher Lee, right? Like going up to the director and being like, hey, I'm twice your age. You need to change this to work. You're instead like someone that's new and fresh to the scene. You're happy to have the job and you're a yes man. You're going to be like, oh, you want me to stand here? Sweet. You want me to stick my ass out? Sweet. You want me to like scream at the top of my lungs a blood curdling cry? Sure, I'll do it. I don't care. I'm being paid and I'm going to get rich off this movie. So like that's 100% on the writers. That's 100% on the director. That's kind of the issue. Their first response is to blame the fans and calling them names. Yeah, I do agree with that. They shouldn't do it, but also understand that like when you're on social media and people are shitting on you, what's your response going to be? It's going to be to go back at the people that are shitting on you, right? Like they lash out at what they can. But I do agree, and I'll say this, like to a degree, what is the actor supposed to do? Is the actor supposed to like go, well, it's the writer's fault, or it's the director. He told me to do that. You can do that. You're not getting hired for any other gig if you do that. Like, if you don't toe the line, you are not getting another job. So I kind of understand. But yeah, it's like at that point, I think the only good play is to just like shut up and not say anything, right? I think that's like, There's no good that comes of it. It's the concept of if you have nothing good to say nothing at all. Even if other people are saying shit things to you, just don't say anything back to them at that point, because you're only going to make it worse. Just look at what happened to Shia after Indiana Jones. Yeah, and I'm going to say this. I don't think Shia LaBeouf is a great actor, honestly. But like, yeah, Indiana Jones being shit wasn't his fault. I think that's like, they just never at that point should have put... They never should have put Harrison Ford in that role. And if they did, I think the reason most people accepted is they were hoping that they were going to pass the mantle. That like at that point, Indiana Jones and the title of that was going to get passed to a younger generation to make more movies. But I think part of the issue with that is people didn't want Shia LaBeouf to be that. And the other part of that is that they actually didn't do the handoff. Harrison Ford kept it. He never passed the mantle to Shia LaBeouf. And Shia LaBeouf plays his son in the movie. So, like, there's nobody better to pass it to. And then like now they've come out with Dial of Destiny, which I've heard is just actual trash. I've never heard anything good about that movie at this point. So I assume that it is a case of like, at this point, it doesn't matter what they do in any subsequent whatchamacallit, in any subsequent Indiana Jones movie. Harrison Ford's just too old for the role now. He absolutely should not be in the movies. He's unbelievable in an action role because he's like 80 years old. And they kill him off in the next one. Do they? I had no idea he was even in the next one. The only reason Mace Windu has a purple lightsaber is because of the actor. Yeah, I'm aware of that story. He specifically asked George. He specifically told George he would only be in it if he could have a purple lightsaber, and George told him no. And then, like a day later, George came back and was like, "Okay, you can have a purple lightsaber." Because I think George thought about it and he was like, "Wait, no, we can probably do this, and it would actually look cool." Like, his initial thought was like, "No, I only want red, green, and blue." And then he was like, "Wait, okay, no, purple might look good." He was thrown off the bus to help give Indy angst. Yeah, like I'm sorry, I don't think that's like I don't think the Indiana Jones series has been handled well. They should have just passed it to a much more charismatic and younger person. And I'm gonna say this, I'm sorry, Shia LaBeouf is not charismatic, right? But they should have given it to a much more charismatic and younger version, and they could have kept doing Indiana Jones like stories. And they actually could have adapted it for more modern times. Kind of like you've seen with like the Da Vinci Code and stuff like that. They could have just had him solving mysteries that are still left unsolved to this day. The whole time travel shtick was stupid. I'm not surprised. Miss Tutu, thank you for the raid. Welcome everybody. How's it going? You were just talking some movies. We're also doing the farming. What are you guys up to today? FGO as well. So I assume you guys were farming too. They should have let it go after Last Crusade. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was okay with them having a fourth movie as long as like Indiana Jones passed the title on, but they didn't do that. I think they failed in their ultimate goal for the fourth movie. We got the best node from day one, right? Yeah, you have 90 plus available at the moment. So, like, just farm it. It's good. And actually, like, it might not have the best currency rate, but like arguably drop wise, this node drops spirit roots. So like spirit roots are really hard to farm. So they're really, really good. Death by rice. You tried doing the CQs. I haven't touched the CQs yet. I just want to get ahead on my farming. So because like I'm in the middle of tax season right now, so I don't have a whole lot of time to do stuff. So I just want to like get to that point, get ahead, and then like play with a lead basically. Spending all my apples on this node. Oh yeah. I want roots like killed off at this point. Good guys have blue and green. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Is I think in Lucas's mind, he was stuck on the concept of like, well, the good guys have blue and green, right? Like, and that's it. Like he was very like set in his concept as to like what lightsabers were supposed to be, and I think he just realized. And I also think that's partially why, like, because it's purple, that Mace Windu is supposedly this like Jedi that's in between. He's a Jedi master, but he also like dabbles in some dark side. Because I think they like, oh well, it's the blending of the colors, and we're gonna have the colors mean something. But the reality is, like back in original Star Wars, there was no meaning to the colors. It was just exactly that. Like blue and red are good, blue and green are good, and red is evil, and that was it. But again, if you guys haven't checked out Tutu, make sure you go do so. And thank you again for the raid. Have I seen Dune Part 2? No, I have not. I've not really had the time to go to the movies, unfortunately. I mean, like, I could, but chat, do you guys want me to skip another stream day and just, like, take a day off and go to the movies by myself? Oh god, that's depressing to say, but, like... Concept of Grey Jedi is super interesting. I don't really like it. At least from a simple standpoint of, while I totally understand not everything is black and white, to me, Grey Jedi are just this, like, non-committal bunch of idiots. And the reason why I say that is because, like, having Grey Jedi in, like, any time period within Star Wars is like, oh, if you're a Grey, you fully are aware that, like, there's evil present in the galaxy, you just aren't doing anything to stop it. So it's kind of, like, a really big problem. But yeah, like, I at least understand Grey from a standpoint of, like, maybe you don't agree with everything in the Jedi Order. So it's not that, like, I think there needs to be a Grey so much as, like, I don't mind seeing, like, exiles and stuff like that. Or again, people that, like, never joined the Jedi Order and just kind of pave their own way. I'm okay with exploring that. I don't like the concept of there being, like, good, evil, and then gray. It's like, it just needs to be good and evil, and then, like, yes, there are people in between. You don't need to define gray, basically. If you want, sure, I don't mind. Nah, it's fine. Take us to the movies with you. I don't think I can legally do that. I think there's problems if I do. Something about the title of Grey Jedi makes something in my soul shrivel. Yeah, like I said, I don't really like the concept of it as a, like, organization or something. And usually it's a thing where, like, a lot of people just try to, like, it's been, like, subverted by people on the internet where they're like, oh, it's a Grey Jedi, so I'm gonna, like, combine the Jedi code with the Sith code. And it's like, no. No, that's just bad. That's just, like, that's just you being a nerd, right? Like, the color is based on their last trail before they chose their path. No. No. Like, so, and again, I'm old school in this regard. Like I said, the colors never really used to mean anything, and you could get any color crystal. It did not actually make you good or evil. They started trying to, like, retcon it and define what the colors mean, and then saying, like, your crystal chose you, kind of like wands in Harry Potter, right? Where it's like, oh, so depending on the lightsaber color that you get, that's a reflection of your, like, personality and your soul. The reality and why this is stupid is you can pick up any lightsaber and use it. Like, the crystal doesn't really choose you, because anyone can use your weapon. If, on the other hand, the crystal chose you, it should be something where there's a level of sentience, and it goes like, hey, wait a minute. Someone else is trying to use me. I'm not going to activate. Right? Cough Grievous? Yeah, Grievous flies in the face of stuff like that. You're a nerd too? I am absolutely a nerd. Cat is super old school Star Wars. Yes. I was Star Wars before it was popular. No, I'm just kidding. It was obviously popular even back then. It, like, Star Wars has been popular basically since the first movie came out. Obviously not as popular right at first, but, like, I think it very quickly ballooned. But no, like, I had watched Star Wars before the prequel movies were made, chat. So you can do the math. But Mr. Cad, the good side doesn't get awesome red lightning powers, and I want that on the good side of the Force. So I do like talking about the concept of gray again, right? Like, I am someone that agrees with at least part of the EU where Luke Skywalker forms the new Jedi Order. And in that process, part of what he believes is that, like, Force powers are not inherently good or evil. That is to say, like, there is nothing wrong with using an electric style of Force power to do something that is benevolent, right? Like, you might be able to use something like Force Lightning to jumpstart a battery. Like, that's not inherently evil, right? Versus using Force Push to shove someone off a ledge and kill them. Kind of evil. But I guess at that point, you start running into a whole bunch of problems of, like, intent and context and all of that stuff. But I do at least think that's a pretty decent philosophy of, like, as long as you're acting in self-defense, or as long as you know that the people that you were, like, dealing with cannot be, like, reasonably disabled, like to the point, like, you can't disarm them, you can't nullify them or stun them in some way, then yes, like, you might have to do those sorts of things, but it's a last resort type of thing. But that definitely gets in the way of, like, Jedi being able to act and them having missions, especially for, like, peacekeeping and stuff like that. And that is partially why, at least with the new Jedi Order, Luke creates the separate and unattached, like, organization. It is not attached to the Republic in any way. It does help the Republic sometimes, but only when interests align. So he has the new Jedi Order as, like, it's like the separation of church and state that you hear about all the time in the United States. Like, people basically don't want the church meddling in politics and vice versa, right? So it's the same concept with the Jedi. They go like, hey, we don't want the Jedi meddling in Republic politics because that's how all of that crap happened in the first place, and vice versa. So it's like the Jedi aren't going to fight a war for you. They may get involved in the war, but only to, like, help on the side of good, and only when they deem it to be necessary type deal. Force mind trick should be the first step. Yeah, like, mind trick is definitely like oh man, you're actually mind controlling someone. That is definitely evil. Unless, again, like, you're dealing with somebody that is evil and the only way to get past them is to mind trick them. And you'll notice, like, the only ways in which mind trick are ever used in, like, the movies and shows is usually to be like, you will let me pass. Like it's literally only done to allow someone to gain access to something. And rarely is it ever done in any other way, shape, or form. Isn't Windu a better idea of a Grey Jedi? Kind of, right? At least in the concept of, like, what Luke was talking about, where he taps into a stance that is extremely aggressive and thus could be considered a dark side favoring stance with his lightsaber forms. And so as a result, like, yeah, like, you could say that that's evil, but he does it only when he needs to, and he basically, tries to conduct himself good otherwise, right? Was there closeness and affiliation with the Republic? Yep. Isn't it only good on a weak mind? Yeah, but define a weak mind, right? Like what is the concept of a weak mind? I don't know, right? Like, because you basically, the concept at play there is no one important to the story. It's a writing trope where it's like not the protagonists. Yeah, it's quite literally NPCs, right? Like, it is only ever guards and stuff like that. Hello, Suki. Choosing a more effective fighting style means you're evil. The Jedi were hardcore. Yeah, that's kind of why. Like, he said they were a little bit too caught up on the philosophy of everything rather than, like, again, trying to be good. Like, the concept of the Jedi Knights as, like, puritanical monks versus the concept of Jedi Knights as knights errant, like somebody that goes around and just tries to do the best thing that they possibly can, trying to be a force for good rather than going around and trying to protect political structures and the status quo. And, like, again, the whole concept at play here is being on the side of the people rather than being on the side of the government. So, and to give you some context on that, if you compare that to, like, something like the Clone Wars, that may have meant fighting on the side of the separatists at certain points if the Republic was doing something that would have been considered harmful to the people. And so that's like, they always fought on the side of the Republic. That's the issue at play there. But again, you could say that that could be subverted and used by the side of evil. So it's not like Luke's philosophy is perfect either, and it does get him in trouble a couple of times. Like, he kind of realizes that, yeah, we have to put at least some kind of restrictions on this, otherwise, oh shit, we're gonna get taken advantage of. Accidentally used Oberon's third skill too early. Gotta love it. From my point of view, the Republic was too big for its own good. I think so this is really interesting because the Republic in Star Wars is 100% a like symbolism of not only modern politics and like political situations, but also the Roman Republic is what it's meant to really like espouse. It's the fall of the Roman Republic as it turns into a dictatorship as Julius Caesar takes over. And instead, the concept at play here is it's the fall of the Galactic Republic as it turns into a dictatorship and is controlled by Darth Sidious. So Yoda became too entrenched to see the evil rising. That's his stated reason, yes. It's 100% that Dooku is part of the evil that is rising. It's basically Dooku knew how to play the politics of it all, but Dooku's 100% complicit in it. And the whole reason that like people like Yoda couldn't be able to like see the evil rising is because of evil purposefully doing that. Like Sidious did things to try and like cloud the Jedi's ability to see the future. So that's why. If only they had taken the EU philosophy of Luke for The Force Awakens instead of nope, all the Jedi are dead again. Yeah, that's like one of the worst things that they could have done, right? Because especially if they had explored, hey, the concept of let's create a Jedi Order, that hasn't been done in the movies at all, right? Like, so like that would have at least been something new for the viewers to watch, something interesting to explore. It's instead of the fall of the Jedi or there only being one Jedi, it's now we're making more. And the trials and tribulations that go along with training someone and getting them to adapt in a new world that has no concept of the Jedi anymore at that point. Like, and that's at least something that the sequels try to play off of, is this concept that like Luke had become almost this godlike figure to people, where like he couldn't live up to the pressure and the standards of it. I hate that, by the way. But that is at least somewhat in play in the original EU. It's that like Luke does become very famous, but Luke is still 100% protected by the same anonymity that every one of like the trillions of residents of the galaxy have, which is that like nobody really knows what he looks like. It's not like there was a photographer in there taking pictures of Luke as he battled Darth Vader in front of the Emperor. So like people didn't get to see that battle. They had no real idea or concept of who Luke was other than like celebrations that had occurred. So it was a thing where Luke could still just absolutely run around and people might not know immediately who he was. Finn, Poe, and Rey would become a new batch of Jedi. I don't think I would have liked it if Poe did, but yeah, Finn 100% was being designed to be a Jedi, and then they didn't, and they rug pulled him. And yeah, Finn's character is pretty bad in the end. And it's sad because I think it could have been a lot better. I think they did that actor dirty. Granted, I've heard that the actor for Finn was a real asshat after the movies, and that now he's apparently like he came out and said that he would never act in a Star Wars movie ever again, and now he's come out and said that he'd be happy to act in a movie again. And people have pointed out it's like, yeah, it's because he's broke and he's not getting any job offers. So it's like when people think they're Mr. Big Shot, they get too big for their britches. But when they suddenly when they're broken need some employment. Oh, I have one bronze left. Would have been a better reason for Luke to become a hermit, not, oh, I have failed and the Jedi are now dead. Yeah, I mean, when Luke's original, like, attempts to establish the Jedi Order, like, he goes to Yavin 4 and goes to the Masasi temples there that the rebellion actually used. And this is actually a problem. Like, the rebellion didn't stay very long on Yavin. Like, they basically got immediately found out and they left, but the part of the reason they don't stay long on Yavin is because the Yavin temples are full of dark side energy and are straight up haunted by the Sith. So part of where he goes there is he goes to establish it, both as the new Jedi Order and also to, like, fundamentally help cleanse the temples. So it's this reclusive, secluded area away from prying eyes is where he establishes the original new temple. Not like, oh man, hey, we want this to be like in the middle of Coruscant where we can be corrupted and involved in politics. He tweeted stuff about laying the pipe with Rey if he had his way. Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised because I think that's 100% what they were trying to hint at. And then they weirdly segued because I think probably the directors realized that, like, having some sort of interracial marriage or something on screen would have probably been at least, like, controversial. And whether or not you think that is the case, it's at least what they seem to think. And it seems like they actually, like, made it worse by trying to force a relationship with Kylo Ren, which I thought was stupid. And I'll say this, if they had at least done that, if Rey had been, like, pregnant at the end of that movie with Kylo Ren's baby, you could have at least said, like, oh, well, at least there will be a new generation of Skywalkers. But they didn't do that. And that's the entire reason why that ending is so bad. She has no connection to the Skywalkers, basically, at that point, and goes, but I'm an honorary Skywalker. It's so bad. They were hinting at that. Yeah, they never really did it. So it's like, I don't really understand why. But at the end of the day, I'm just going to chalk that up to that's what happens when you have 3 movies directed by 2 different people and they alternate. And I think they just, like, each director stepped on the other director's toes. Next movie, Rey's a mom, and we're all like, what the fuck? She got pregnant through the Force. It's another virgin pregnancy through the Force. We're birthing the next chosen one. Chosen one. Participation trophy head ass. Yes, 100%. I enjoy The Last Jedi more than The Rise of Skywalker, and that's including the fucking casino. I don't. I think, like, I've heard people say Rise of Skywalker is terrible and it's worse than The Last Jedi. Chat, I couldn't watch Rise of Skywalker is the first Star Wars movie ever that I did not watch in theaters. I couldn't watch it. Like Last Jedi was that bad. It made me not want to watch any other Star Wars movie ever again. And it took me 2 years before I finally sat down and forced myself to watch it because I wanted to see how bad it was. And I came out the back end of it being like, well, that was terrible. And I now see why I didn't watch it. I refuse? Yeah, no, it's fine. Anakin is apparently some experiment of Darth Plagueis. Yeah, they've tried to do stuff like that where it's like he was 100% part of their grand design that they were trying to implement over all the years, right? Like they were playing the long con. I don't 100% blame J.J. Abrams for The Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, and that's like, look, I'm gonna say this with Force Awakens, JJ, like, he was stale, right? Like, he was stale, but he passed the torch. And JJ was originally supposed to do all 3 movies, so I do give JJ a lot of shit for that. Because JJ decided, I don't want to do all 3 movies, give it to someone else. And then they bring Rian Johnson in, and Rian Johnson goes like, hey, that's a cool script you got, but what if we move in this direction? And sorry, that's I just did so that's Force Awakens, and this is Last Jedi, right? And then you get JJ Abrams gets begged to come back for the 3rd movie for Rise of Skywalker. And he like tries to pick up where the other one left off. Like, he basically tries to like complete the original ideas that he set out on in the first movie, which actually causes him to come into conflict and move in the opposite direction of the prior movie, right? Like, and that's kind of the issue with this, is that, yeah, I still blame Rian Johnson because he just completely subverted expectations with the second movie. Rise of Skywalker could have been better had Rian Johnson towed the line. But Rian Johnson left him very little left to deal with. So the big bad in the entirety of like the trilogy was supposed to be Snoke. Snoke gets killed off in like his first encounter in the second movie with ease. And the big dramatic fight that you get is actually just them battling with the Imperial Guard. Snoke is an absolute nothing burger, and it's one of the stupidest uses of a villain that I've seen in like modern cinema in a while. Yeah, he like it was there for the shock value. The way in which he died was really shocking. No one expected it. But again, that's the problem. No one expected it because no one thought that the director would be that stupid to do it, right? So the problem that they had going into the 3rd movie is there was no antagonist. Like, the only antagonist was Kylo Ren, but the problem at that point was they had already tried the whole seduction arc and trying to force Rey into, like, being in a relationship with him. So you couldn't really make him the actual antagonist. Also, Kylo wasn't in charge of the first, what is it, First Order? Is that what they were called? Yeah, Kylo wasn't in charge of the First Order at the time. So, like, it was just really freaking weird. They had to come up with some way to have a Galactic Menace after killing the Galactic Menace off. And that's where Palpatine somehow returned came from. Didn't they say they started the new trilogy with no plan? I don't think it was no plan, but they had no real script in place. And that was the biggest issue. He'll do nothing and die, I guess. Yeah, and there's no setup either. Like you don't find out anything about Snoke. Like, was Snoke Palpatine's apprentice? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. Like, where did he come from? Where did he go? Where did he come from, Cotton Eye Joe? Lucas gave them a rough outline for a sequel trilogy. They ignored it. Yeah, and I'm not surprised. No, to be fair, okay? To be fair, Lucas's ideas for a sequel trilogy were not good either. So the reason that like Mara Jade isn't around or a thing anymore is partially because of Lucas. Mara Jade is named after Lucas's ex-wife, and his ex-wife used to help him run Star Wars. And then she basically cheated on him and left him for another man. So I kind of understand him being upset about that. The problem is he should have just renamed the character. But like, he doesn't want the character renamed. He wants the character completely wiped out of Star Wars. And that's the whole reason that like Luke has no kids. That Luke doesn't get married. And I'm like, who's Mara Jade? That's Luke Skywalker's wife. And it was meant to be a nod to George Lucas. Snoke is a puppet for the Imperator or whatever reason. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm just gonna say you can come up with any excuse you want for like who Snoke is or what he was. It wasn't really explained. My homie Darth Maul was gonna be the main villain of the second part. Like I said, I understand Darth Maul is a cool badass character, but they should have just let Darth Maul die at the bottom of that shaft. They should not have brought him back. Because when they brought him back, that's kind of what makes like his storyline somewhat cringe. Should have just went with the Zahn novels. Yep, I completely agree. And that's like, you still have people. I think there's a petition out there asking them to make movies of the Zahn novels and to throw the sequels out. In fact, I think you can find on YouTube, I think somebody did they actually like animated all of it with like 3D sprites. Yeah. Yeah, 2 years ago. And I heard that like the next one is coming soon. Like, I'm not gonna play it, chat. And like, don't get me wrong, the animation quality's not great, but it's like watching Machinima back in the day, right? Like, so like somebody actually like straight up like made all of this into a movie a la like Clone Wars. And it's pretty good. It's how the books worked. I've seen it. Yeah, I've watched it myself. I've watched the entire thing. So it's like, if you don't want to read the books, you can at least watch it. The only problem is you only get the first book because it's the only one that's made right now. Because it takes people a long time to make stuff like that. Riddle me this. Why didn't they make Luke a Duke? I don't know. Because Duke Luke sounds stupid. All right, chat. It is 11 o'clock. And I am at 60 boxes. I think this is a good stopping point. We did 20 boxes on stream. Pretty good, if I do say so myself, especially considering I am not at max rank at all. But you have more farming to do. Yeah, the thing I'm going to farm is sleep. I'm going to send you guys over to Mr. CZ. He's on tonight. He's doing some farming as well. So again, thank you guys for being here. Tomorrow night is my night off. I may choose to like stream something in Discord. We'll see. It depends on whether or not I can have it. I may also just sit in VIP. It just depends. But again, I'll be farming probably all day tomorrow. We do have D&D Sunday night, so guys, feel free to come in and check us out for that. You know, we'll be, I'm sure, farming during it, but like, we'll be playing D&D. That'll give you some sort of distraction from the lotto grind, so feel free to check that out. And again, if not, I will be back Monday. Also, like I said, expect some new video content starting next week. And again, have a good one. Go give Cece my love, and good